welcome to the latest installment in the Nerd School Network comic book crossover. We're here this time to talk about what I would argue is the most anticipated movie for us this year. It is, of course, Justice League. And I had a whole bit prepared about uniting the six, but Chris Fimbres isn't here. So we're not uniting the six, we're uniting the five, like all Justice League posters. But starting off, I am Chris Lord from Timm Talk.
I'm Kermit Dexter, also from Timm Talk. And with us we have...
I'm Trevor Reese from the podcast of Two Worlds.
You can't do a podcast alone. I'm Frank Moran from The Novice and Frank.
Hi, I'm sorry on behalf of my partner Frank. This is Amanda. I'm the novice from The Novice and Frank. Oh, you can't do... I see what you did there. I'm sorry on behalf of myself. I didn't get that joke.
I mean, as Aquaman would say, all great podcasts are done by yourself.
Booyah!
That's the
That's
opposite of the
that
saying.
So I know we normally start out by talking about what our thoughts are. I think we're all pretty much united in our thoughts on this thing.
We'll
Hang
find
on.
out.
What?
I want to say something, Chris.
What?
I think you have tainted me in my viewing of this movie because going into the movie, you had my mind set to only look for negatives. And while there were a lot of those, at the moment, I don't know if it's movie Stockholm Syndrome, I wouldn't mind watching it again right now.
Okay, well, you're fundamentally wrong on that. But along those lines, I was going to propose, I have a challenge for us right from the beginning. 5 minutes, we can only say positive things.
Oh, I'm fine
About
with
the
it.
film.
I've got actually a lot of positive.
Okay,
things to
I
say.
was saying 5 minutes seemed reasonable, 10 minutes seemed absurd. So maybe we can even get to 10 minutes of positive
Let's see how
things,
far
but-
we can go
Okay.
with a 5-minute minimum.
Okay.
Okay,
And we buzz each other if it ventures in a negative
Okay,
territory.
I'm setting a timer
Okay.
right now on my phone.
Everyone at
we
home, play
we have the
along.
clock
Stop
to
watch.
use.
Okay, starting time. I'm gonna start off. I really enjoyed Jason Momoa's body.
Okay.
Cool.
Solid
On
pull.
what-
Solid.
body work.
Solid
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
Solid start.
Great decision making Aquaman sexy. Maybe I
Yes.
saw you post an article about that, and I would say
mhm.
like maybe I don't know if you feel the same way. If you don't, we can talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought it was probably a good idea.
When you don't necessarily think like, oh, Aquaman should be sexy, but like the
No.
pieces are there because he is like very much like a more static, stoic character. But you sort of like Thor, you realize the sort of inherent humor in a character like this, and you get someone like Jason Momoa. It was a good fit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that worked really well.
Yeah.
I really like the sweet Mercedes non-Batmobile.
Oh yeah, that
It
was.
showed up at the top.
I
was like, I don't know what you are, but I like you.
I'm not sure
car.
that is either. I'm assuming some sort of concept car. I'm not as up in my car knowledge as I used to be.
I
But
would-
I have no idea what the hell that thing is.
I don't know. I would look it up because I think I
Yeah.
thought that was an attractive writing machine.
I love how they found. I was about ready to get into criticism there.
He blew his own bit.
Would that take like 90 seconds?
Yeah, just a bit less than that actually.
I will say, like, the Batman Gotham stuff was awesome. Like
Yeah.
that was like watching a live. Like there were times, like, and this might sound like a criticism, but there were times it felt like fan servicey, just because it's like this like feels like a fan film because it's so like almost like absurdly loyal to some of
Yeah.
the looks. And I feel like I've always liked. Like Snyder's kind of problem with his Superman movies is he wanted to make a Batman movie real
Right, yeah.
bad, and he has shown that he could make a really sweet Batman movie.
Yeah.
And like the stuff like with Gotham, like when Batman was finding the guy to bait the parademon, like that whole thing like just felt like actual like Gotham to me.
No, I would agree with that. Like, I really like that opening sequence. I feel like both this and BVS have given us two opportunities. We got to see Batman be very full-on Batman in a way that Nolan never did because he was so concerned about being realistic. And Batman is a little bit absurd inherently.
Yeah.
And this seems to lean into it in a way that I actually quite enjoyed. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I thought the real hero was Alfred's stylist. I thought that Alfred was very well dressed. He was very dapper. It was
was.
practical.
Yeah.
I thought he had some lovely trenches
Yeah.
I went up that
and
and
cargo jackets.
I enjoyed Bruce Wayne. Anytime he was just Bruce Wayne in it with like a vest on or
And
something,
this
I
was
was
the
like digging that.
this was the first time I felt that way. I liked him. I'm like, oh, he's because he's kind of puffy. Affleck, he's kind of puffy, right? But like,
He's a little puffy.
he's a
this
little
one,
puffy,
yeah.
and I don't want to take it to his appearance negative, but like, I think, but I bought him as Bruce Wayne this time. I don't know. I was like, oh, that's Bruce Wayne. I don't know Batman necessarily, but like that's kind of this like tortured. I thought that it worked. I liked his hair. And he had, and when he had his beard and he looked very nice, and then he shaved, and I was like,
Yeah.
at first I was like, ooh, and then I was like, no, I like it.
Yeah.
I'll save my beard thoughts until we get to the other part.
Okay,
of the podcast.
great.
I
Perfect.
liked in general that whole sequence of him going out to find Aquaman up in
In the bar.
Where were they? They were
Someplace
up in
cold?
Like Norway.
Yeah, someplace very very cold. I really like that whole sequence actually.
Okay, cool.
I'll jump further ahead and say that I really liked the first end credit sequence.
Oh, yeah,
The
yeah.
race.
Yes.
Oh
The
yes,
race?
of course.
Okay,
The
Superman,
race of the two
Flash.
fastest men on the planet.
Moments like that are what a DC movie needs more so than like Joss Whedon quips and lighter moments. It's stuff like that, like genuinely presenting these classic DC moments in new, interesting, like live action ways.
Was that a Josh though? That end credit, or was that Zach?
It feels like it reads like a Joss Whedon thing, but
Yeah.
again, but it didn't read like a Joss Whedon scene. It felt like an idea he would want to do, just because he's aware of the history and the lore and everything like that. But it didn't necessarily feel inherently like a Joss Whedon scene per se.
Well, the last competition, in the end fight scene when they had kind of that mini competition between Flash and Superman of like who could save the most people,
Mhm.
that was all Joss.
Hmm.
Because that whole
well,
Russian
then it-
family, which I will get into in a minute.
Yeah, we'll hold
Um,
that. We'll hold that for a few.
Hold that one back. We got it. I did love the scene where like Flash saves the truck and then Superman comes holding up an entire apartment
Yeah.
complex. Like that was a cute.
yeah,
little-
again, like
Nice.
natural humor,
Yes.
Yes.
and not the forced quippy stuff that bogged it down, which we can get into later on.
Mhm.
Yeah, like they're like when it was
10 seconds.
when it was at ease with itself, it was a very fun movie to watch.
I liked it when Batman got punched by Wonder Woman because I thought that it was great that she didn't like slap his face.
Mm-hmm.
I just liked that she was like, and just like kind of gut punched him. I liked that.
Yes.
I would say I liked Henry Cavill's smile as he avoids Steppenwolf's punch. That was just like a little smirk. There you go.
I
That's a
did have a
moment.
big thing, which gets me excited for Aquaman. I think this was the first underwater fight scene I have ever seen that didn't bore me.
That was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest compliment for this film, my biggest one, is that I would rather watch this on loop 3 times than be asked to watch Batman versus Superman again.
Agreed.
once.
Yeah.
That is how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and they
Taking it in.
Yeah.
I'm so
they
excited.
cheated. They cheated their way to get here, but like I'm glad that like we kind of have gotten to who these characters are supposed to be. Like this film sort of cemented everyone and who they're supposed to be in a way. I mean, we can talk about some of the characters to varying degrees, and Wonder Woman already was established by her movie, very much so, but this kind of like it felt like finally Henry Cavill got to have fun with being good Superman. And we got like that classic moment at the end with the shirt ripping up. It's just like sweet. That's an actual like true blue Superman moment.
There are rumors that I'm pretty sure are true, talking about the difference between the Snyder and the Whedon versions. But I really appreciated how fast the team got together at the beginning. Because I think what a lot of people were saying was Joss, like the team wasn't going to get together, or sorry, Snyder, the team wasn't going to get together until like the beginning of the 3rd act.
Oh, that would have been
Because
frustrating.
if you see all of the clips from the trailer that we don't have, it's all of Batman hunting down the boxes and fighting the parademons.
Right.
And a lot of that was cut, which I think we all very much appreciate.
Well, so I read an article that was looking back on the Flash dream sequence from BVS and saying, does this still make sense now? And the argument on that was that the original version of this movie, given that it's supposed to be 2 parts, was supposed to end, the first movie would end setting up Darkseid and also having Superman still be a villain, thus justifying why the Flash would feel like they go back in time to try and warn Bruce, like, you've always been right. The key to stopping him is Lois, because that still happens in this movie. And that the second Justice League movie would be like them bringing Superman back and then ultimately fighting Darkseid. And I feel like the elements of that were still here a little bit. Because they did come together quickly. I thought it was interesting the way they brought back Superman. and that they had this idea that he had to be evil for a bit, but that didn't feel entirely justified to me. I'm curious what you guys thought about
He
that.
didn't feel evil to me ever. He just felt kind of confused for a few minutes. I've got a lot of questions. So I have
Well,
a lot of
because it was
questions-
set
yeah.
off by Cyborg. Cyborg started it with his accidental shooting.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it
Oh,
was
right, yeah.
it was sort of a very negative reaction to a situation, but
Yeah.
he ultimately wasn't responsible because he didn't start it.
I thought that was it was cool seeing Cyborg like deal with not being able to control his functions. I thought
Just like an
that.
old man.
I did want to ask.
Yes, it's just exactly.
I did want to ask: is that how Cyborg is in the comics right now?
Yeah, I know nothing about Cyborg, and I have
Because
questions.
this movie felt like he could have been Blue Beetle, and I would have been just as happy.
Well, they redid because originally he was with Teen Titans, and
Right.
So then
Because that's
there
what
was-
I know him from.
Yeah, and so that origin is kind of similar in the sense that there's an alien attack and from another dimension, and he got damaged, and that's why he became Cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
Then when Jeff Johns rebooted it for the New 52, then he really tied him to the Justice League as opposed to the Teen Titans, and tied in the Mother Box
Yeah.
and Darkseid and all that. stuff.
around
Like-
what time did he? Around what time was that? Was he invented? I hate saying invented, but like when-
Created.
When was the
Mid-80s?
character created? Mid-80s. Okay. Because he's all tied into like if
Oh,
we
even
didn't have
early
if we didn't
80s.
have technology, then he wouldn't be a character. So I found him very interesting as an idea.
Well, yeah, and he's the New 52 is the one that has established him with all that stuff, and but also the New 52 did a good job of sort of like they addressed the fact that it's Darkseid technology that's made him, so he had to deal with that, right?
Yeah, and basically, because he booms now, like he opens up boom tubes and takes that. He basically is like the League transporter for the most part. But
Okay.
they set it up at least with the initial Jeff Johns run that there's so many cycles that he goes through, but one of them will always take them to Apocalypse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about Cyborg's portrayal in general? I was worried going into this that
He-
he was going to disappear off the screen.
His what?
His portrayal
Oh,
in general.
I heard his betrayal. I'm like, did he
Oh.
betray? Did I miss a whole thing? His
No, but
portrayal.
he should have. Like, I mean, like no, like that should have been his arc. Is not only dealing with the fact that, like, I mean, if anyone should have gotten an origin in this film, it should have been him. He should have been the human through line, and we should have followed his, because he just got nothing in this movie.
Yeah.
He got like Cyborg got the least amount, and they gave him a shitty booyah. That should have
Yeah.
been
How
like that.
dare you? I cheered with
No,
our audience.
Like it's no, it's supposed like it's supposed to be a moment because it's like you watch that's from Teen Titans and like
Yeah.
Teen Titans Go, like that's from
why I
that
cheered.
like that iteration of Cyborg, and they just like he should have been struggling with his humanity versus like his robotic side, but also like further that by his humanity as a loyal member of the Justice League, and then as a being taken over by aliens, and even should have probably been a spy.
Yeah.
Well, I got to be honest that I've never liked Cyborg as part of the Justice League. I
Yeah,
always liked him better as a Teen Titans, and he's got such a. I mean, the relationships and friendships are so much deeper on the Teen Titans than he's ever had with the Justice League. And I feel like it's only that Jeff Johns is a big fan of that character, and so when they're rebooting the universe, they're like, oh yeah, we should elevate him and be part of the Justice League. But I would have rather had no Cyborg and just had like a John Stewart Green Lantern. If you wanted to
Yes.
diversify the cast, give me a John Stewart Green Lantern instead.
or just follow every iteration of Martian Manhunter as live action and cast him as a black man.
Yeah.
Like
I
that's a trend that all depictions of him are of African Americans. You could have Martian Manhunter, and he could have been like another perspective of like the alien thing. He could have you could have even retconned it to Darkseid or Steppenwolf destroyed. That's why there's no more Martians. Is
Yeah.
because of Steppenwolf. They had a mother box too. Like it was 4 mother boxes, and Mars had it. Like so many things we could have changed.
I guess for me, for not having any, there are 2 characters going to this that I knew very little about. I feel relatively, and one was Cyborg, which I knew virtually nothing about, and the other was the Flash. I know really.
How
all
dare you? You should know so
know.
much listening
I
to our
know.
podcast
I know,
every
but what
single
I'm
week,
saying-
Amanda. You should be so well versed in the Flash at this point.
I know, but that you guys, I did my Flash research to do the podcast with you guys. Do you know what I mean? So the good news is like now I like have that many more questions that I want to discuss with you. But I thought that from that mindset, from somebody going in that doesn't have all of this background, like, oh, well, this person would have been better, or this person would have been better. I felt like Cyborg had a reason to be there. So I watched him and I was like, oh, he's kind of cool because I like the diversity factor, but also I was like, oh, well, he is it's technology. This weird alien species is somehow technology based. So I guess that and it's like his same type of technology. But this kind of boils down for me some of the larger problems of the story, which is that I didn't understand. Like I was
We've made it 13 minutes. I
following-
think we can start
I think we can
Well,
let
it-
loose a
finding
little bit.
these small problems
But
the
I
movie
just,
has.
I just
Just the one or two.
It feels like there are one or two movies that we did not see
yeah.
between Batman v Superman and this. Like it feels like there's just so much missing that they know but we don't. Like something it's just like there's so
Yeah.
fucking much just like but how did we get to this part?
Yeah.
Just the fact that like Batman like Superman is inspiring the world like motherfucker, don't gaslight me. I saw those first two movies and people were not like doing that. You retconned it at the end when he died. But it's like he was never that. You never depicted him as that figure, and now the world has accepted him as that. It's like you just jumped.
Jumped the gun a
Well,
little
yeah,
bit.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think they were trying to course correct across the board.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, they've got a lot to correct from.
Oh God, yeah, they do.
But so that kind of leads me into one of my biggest questions, which is at the end of Batman versus Superman, there was like he's buried, and then it's like, but dirt. Maybe he's not dead. How did this? What? How? What did this have to do with that? Because he was dead.
My thinking on that is that when they rewrote Justice League to make it one film, and also after BVS, they changed how he was going to come back.
Okay,
the
so
ul-
it literally just has nothing to do. So at the end of that movie, we're just
Yeah.
gonna pretend like
They
it
had a
didn't happen.
different yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
'cause that's the only thing I can imagine. Because I really disliked how they handled his return. Like, I felt like they should have just done a sort of thing where, like, oh, he's Kryptonian. His version of death is different than ours. He wasn't actually dead. He was like healing himself or whatever, and he's come back. I would have been totally fine with that. I thought the whole idea of like, oh, we're gonna use the mother box and try and bring
Well,
him
that
back
was such
was
a
so
weird thing
dumb.
to jump to. It's like, well,
And-
this will work based on exactly no proof.
I do want to ask, because I think all of us are coming from a very skewed perspective of kind of knowing how he's come back before in the comics. As a general audience member who doesn't go to the movies very often, would you have accepted the, like, it was a Kryptonian sleep?
I would have been like, eye roll. Sounds about right.
Yeah, like he just needed to collect some solar energy and he would have been fine.
Well,
kind of
but
stuff.
he needed something in the comic book too, something along this device. It's just sort of like, well, now by using Luther's thing again, it's now like a thing.
Yeah.
It could have just been like what Luther did in that movie. It was crazy.
Just call it
but,
something
like, now
crazy,
it's-
like a Lazarus pit or something.
Yeah, but it's like, but now it's like something. Now it's like, oh, we can just go to Luther's pool or like the Kryptonian pool or something like that. Like it's just like a weird. It's weird to like make it a recurring thing.
The Kryptonian grotto
Yeah.
and bring him back
It just
around.
didn't make sense. I wish there had been something that would have given me an inkling of like, oh, that's why they all think this is a fine. I mean, I know that it's like this isn't a good idea, but it's like, oh, sure, this is exactly what we do. There's this. It's almost like they all read a user manual, and that we're like, oh, sure, we just bring him back to life with this box, and then the Flash will run real quick, and it'll just and that will work. And then it worked like exactly how they
Yeah.
planned. That was more what I didn't buy.
There were no stakes.
No, throughout any of it. I mean, okay, so I was even kind of thrown off because I feel like they completely changed how Mother Box technology works. And maybe you guys can correct me, but I always thought the Mother Box was designed purely just to be like an activation point for a boom tube. I didn't think it could do anything other than that.
It can do other stuff because
It slices, it dices.
That's right.
You're right.
Because like with Mr. Miracle, he uses to help escape all his cool elaborate death traps that he's in.
Okay.
So it can do other stuff, but it's never been, as far as I know, used in the way that it's been here in any of like the Kirby New Genesis stuff.
Yeah, because it was just used as just a MacGuffin.
Yeah, like every god has
Basically
got
here.
their own personal mother box, and they use it for a variety of different things, whether it be boom tubes
Okay.
or some other stuff.
I also have a question. I don't know anything about Steppenwolf. Like, I consider my DC knowledge like pretty deep,
You
and I
mean-
have never heard of
You
him
mean
before.
just the fact that his chin looks like a scrotum didn't fill you in on everything you needed to know about this character?
Well, he looks so different than he does in the comics.
Well, and just the fact that he was like pulled from some video game. And I say
Yes.
that as a critique of the graphics used to depict him. He was literally
Yes.
plucked from a video game that, like, what the fuck is this? But yeah, he looks like just a dude with that outfit. Like,
Yeah,
and
he looked like someone cosplaying as a hero, like
He-
like or as a villain.
The
His-
way that I saw him, it was someone trying to cosplay Snoke, and just like adding some extra things onto it. Like I want to be a medieval Snoke.
this is like DC showing its hand by having Steppenwolf, because it's like what Marvel does, and basically 5 years from now is sort of like the trajectory of where the movies are going. So they lay the groundwork in the comic book to lay the foundation of whether or not the idea can work, and then introduce it in the movies if it's successful. And so you see, like, Steppenwolf was like, I think for the first time ever depicted as this as part of the New 52 with Earth 2. Like being
Yes.
this conquering thing was the first time he was ever really depicted like that, as he is same in the Justice League movie.
and his
Ugh.
only driving force is to create chaos. He doesn't have. I wanted if again like the MacGuffin
No, that's the
thing, like-
Joker.
but that's what they said about this.
No, I know.
Right?
Can you go?
Exactly,
Who is
but
the
they said-
Joker? I haven't seen him yet in
You know,
these
some
movies.
people just want to watch the world burn.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm like, if you're gonna introduce this big bad character, it's like, can I please get a motivation, something more than just like like voiceover. He lives to create chaos and destruction. I'm like, I'm gonna need
He
more
tried
than that.
to blow up the planet once, but he was stopped by a dead Green Lantern and maybe
Yeah,
Zeus.
What?
But now
Okay,
he's
that-
back.
That's
Like Chris thought this. My Chris thought that was
I thought I was your Chris.
Shazam. I have so many Chris's. I got Chris's for days.
this is true.
Because we have access to the multiverse, so I also have literal access to just infinite Chris's of both,
Okay.
both you Chris's.
Okay.
But then also the other Chris's that I know. But all that to say that, like, that whole fight sequence, like, was like the cool Green Lantern thing, but he thought that the lightning guy was Shazam, was old school Shazam, maybe even the Wizard Shazam. But it was, I found out in the art book that was like
In credits,
old
it said
god
Zeus.
Zeus. Which is like, all right, cool. Like, I guess I get it. Like, because they're from from Wonder Woman and everything. And so now we get
Yeah.
to finally see them depicted. But it's like, oh,
I
that
didn't
would
know
have
who
been
that was though.
super cool to have like a Shazam tease the same way
Yeah.
we get a Green Lantern tease.
I thought that's who it was at first too, and then they started showing other gods, and then I saw that in the closing credits, Ares was credited. So I guess he must have been in that
Yeah, I-
battle as well. But
same
I missed
thing.
him entirely.
I had no
didn't see
idea
him.
who any of them were, and then it said, and then I saw Zeus, Ares. I was like, oh, well, all right, well, that was not clear.
Yeah, I love the inclusion of the Green Lanterns. Like I think that was actually a pretty good way to set that up without having to really commit too much to it.
Oh,
Cameron has
Nice.
alternative
Great.
opinions on
shaking.
this whole thing. I feel like I'm gonna try and like pedal for a while so I can keep the microphone away from him so he can't talk about this. I've run nothing to say. I'll just hand it over.
I was upset with. I mean, I've probably been a little vocal on this group podcast, but I am a big fan of Green Lantern. He's been like Kyle Rayner has been my favorite Green Lantern since I don't know 10 years. I don't know, but it just the fact they just come and all he does is just die on screen was like, can you do something else with him?
He flew and used the ring once to establish who he was.
Right?
Okay,
Yeah.
who in this movie didn't fly though? Are we all just now given the power of flight? We can just all fly. Like Aquaman can fly.
Mira and Ocean Master didn't fly.
Batman,
I felt as though everyone.
Was that not the one standing next to Mira who died?
They're not gonna kill Ocean Master.
I know, but it-
in the next Aquaman movie.
But it looked like. Did it not look like Ocean
Well,
Master?
they cut Willem Dafoe, so who knows who they
Yeah.
put there.
But there were. I just felt.
no. Oh, yeah, sorry.
But he was
Volko.
supposed to be in this movie. Yeah.
I just
I
felt
know.
like it's like no, not everyone can fly. If
Yeah.
everyone gets this weird like it's like suddenly like the Flash can fly. It's like no, it's like they're I feel like they were cheating it. It's like no, play within their limitations. That's so much more fun. I love like Aquaman. He can't like surf a body through the
Well,
air.
that's a definitely John's pushing that, because Johns has been a very big proponent of Aquaman
Uh-huh.
and somebody who has established the fact that he should be stronger than he's been depicted in the past because of the pressure of living underwater,
Yeah.
translating to similar to like old school like Superman can fly because the gravity on Krypton's so strong, and now he's at Earth and that's why he can fly.
Oh,
It's
I thought
like-
you're talking about just like 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 pressure from friends and society.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because the
actual
crowd.
social pressure.
But it's all
Yes,
happening
yes.
underwater, Frank. So it's
Yeah.
even more so.
I just
Do we-
it bothered me.
Do we want to go through each character and just kind of give our pros and a handful of cons?
Can I have one question before we move on from the villain?
No. And
It's like thank you. Hey, thank you. Oh, it's like society in here. So you just punched Frank in the stomach. So with the what's his name? Bad guy.
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf.
Like the band.
Like the band or the theater.
What?
The theater in Chicago, Steppenwolf Theater, very famous.
Yeah, sure.
Very famous. Cameron.
Cameron, I'm sorry. Am I
Does it show
interrupting all your fart
movies?
humor by coming in here with my theater talk? So Frank, so Steppenwolf, so he's from the comic books.
yes,
Is he better in the comic books
he's
than
better.
he's in the movie?
He's better in the comic books. He looks better. He is. I mean, he's Darkseid's uncle. with
Okay.
Neil's. Yeah, and he's got a cool little beard.
That's the most recent incarnation I am showing to
Oh.
Amanda.
Why is he got
Drawn
d-
by Nicholas
he have a
Scott
little-
from Earth 2.
does
Yeah,
he
he's
have
like
a
a little
little-
goatee.
But why does he have like a longhorn skull on his on his balls? Like in his
No,
crotch
that's
area?
maybe. It's at a perspective that it looks like it could either be on his along like his cod piece or like as part of a belt or
God,
part
this
of
is
his
a classier
stomach.
way of saying ball area. Sorry.
His dick cover.
His
jock
It's
strap.
it's very possible that it is a horned
I
beast
feel like more
dick
superheroes
cover.
need to appreciate the jockstrap.
Dance belts.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was Darkseid. That Jack Kirby created him as Darkseid's uncle. He's killed in his first appearance, but then Darkseid brings him back to be like a loyal general.
Okay.
And so he was like kind of a big bad precursor. Are you showing her the original one?
Yeah, come on, guys. That's what you want.
The original Kirby. Yeah, he looks like he's all in green with a pointy cone head hat.
He looks
Or
like
from
the,
Superpowers comic.
But
that too.
yeah, but so he
Yeah.
was
So
he
he's
was
changed
originally
a
like
lot.
he kind of
That was
is
beautiful.
how the movie intended to depict him is kind of how Kirby originally introduced him
Okay.
as an initial big threat who's immediately stopped only to reveal the deeper, bigger threat below, which is Darkseid.
Okay, so he's just these pictures. So Frank's just pulling up pictures of this guy, and they're ridiculous. He's like, ugh. All right, so he is just
That's a poor
symptomatic.
doctor.
He's symptomatic of what's going to become a bigger problem in the DC universe
So-
for these films.
I guess
He's
so.
he's the first new god to be introduced.
Okay.
Which are different from the old gods,
Yes.
like Zeus and them. But no, they're two warring alien species, who currently in the New 52 exist outside of the 52 multiverse, as individual like giant entities.
Okay.
And so yeah, that seems to be where they're going to be going to. But it also
Okay.
means you have to introduce like the crazy new gods. So it's like Darkseid and his planet Apocalypse, which are like people like Steppenwolf and like the parademons are all from that same planet.
Okay.
But then you have the new gods, which are basically like Asgard, but if Asgard was designed by like a flower child.
Okay.
So
Is it-
Interesting. Thank you. I thank you for that. I just yeah.
Okay, so I mean, that definitely helps put things in context because that further kind of encourages the idea that clearly they had grander plots down the line. It seems like we don't know when we're going to get
But it's
Justice
also-
League 2.
But it's also
so-
like again, like to draw the Marvel comparison, because also like clearly, Darkseid and Thanos, like even in the comic book history, are sort of based off one
Well,
another.
isn't Thanos actually a knockoff of Darkseid? Didn't Darkseid come first and
yeah,
then Marvel?
yes.
So would you guys have rather?
They're very close to each other.
Ooh, we should Google this. You guys-
72. 72 was when
From-
Steppenwolf was created.
From what I remember, they were like months apart.
Huh.
Like almost either they came out the next year or like I think it was like 8 months apart.
We have like an Armageddon Deep Impact situation going on.
Yeah, I think it was
Yes.
just like there might
But-
have been a person behind it that copied someone, but I think it also might have just been like a hive mind situation.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because Jim Starlin was doing like crazy balls Marvel cosmic stuff at the time. And so Thanos just kind of grew out of other stuff. But he's also like Thanos like died pretty early on in his initial run.
Was
Because he
his
was
fir-
dead. He was dead for Death of Captain Marvel.
And his first intro was in issue of Iron Man.
Yeah.
So,
But all that to say, just really quick,
Yeah.
like to finish the comparison, is just again shows the systemic problems of DC, which is Marvel just has the problem of having to introduce this guy and his backstory.
Mhm.
DC has to build towards introducing two giant intergalactic races to properly introduce this threat.
I mean, do they though? Like, so you kind of get the feeling like that when they set up this whole thing that they were planning on having Darkseid be the villain of Justice League 2.
Yes.
And I know that this film was kind of too far into development to change that before they can actually release it. But would you guys have rather just had Darkseid be the villain in this? Just go straight to it. They beat Marvel to the punch of having their like Thanos equivalent out first. Like,
No, because then, like, what do you build to? You just bring Darkseid back as a bigger threat, which is what DC did in
Well-
the comic books.
well, what's weird though is at the end of it, they're clearly setting up that the next Justice League film would incorporate the Injustice League, which
Yeah,
I would
but that's
much rather see than just another
but
alien
that's the
invasion.
Marvel.
So-
That's the Marvel thing. Avengers introduces the initial setup of the larger narrative. The second one is the personal one, which in this case will be Justice League versus the Injustice League. Injustice League, Injustice Gang.
In Justice League.
I think
Yeah.
it's the Injustice League. I mean,
have to-
they
they
get
said that
a
Or
they
the-
should
or
build
the-
league of their
our-
own.
build our
Yeah.
own
So
league.
Well, they'll
Yeah.
be the Supervillain Society, I imagine.
Gina
They'll
Davis
probably
will
be.
be in it.
Yeah.
Gina Davis will be there, as will Rosie O'Donnell. Tom Hanks will be
Okay.
supervising.
Madonna.
Before we
Yeah,
move on, let's
Madonna, of
cast that.
course.
Let's cast that. Who is Gina Davis in the DCEU? Who
Oh.
is Tom Hanks? Who is Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell?
Gina Davis is the assertive one who's still in love with her ex. So
Get-
Star
Star
Sapphire.
Sapphire.
That's absolutely true.
I was gonna say Giganta.
I mean, wouldn't Lex Luthor be the Tom Hanks? He's kind of managing the whole thing a little bit.
I mean, we could do it that way. Like reverse it. So like, okay, then who is Slade? To completely jump ahead, is Slade the
Rosie
Gina
O'Donnell.
Davis? He's the Rosie
he's
O'Donnell.
the Rosie O'Donnell.
I feel like he's like the Dolores character.
Dolores, that's
The-
Madonna.
Oh,
Oh
is
no,
it-
no, no,
oh,
the
yeah.
the girl who's like
Oh,
the power
it
hitter.
Had to be you.
Yeah.
Her name
I'm
is
singing to him.
I'm singing Nelson.
Yeah, that's his name.
Her name is oh god, you guys, this were a millionaire question. I would have gotten it.
Because it would have had 4 options for you.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because I'm gonna.
I'll think of it before the end of
Which
this
one
podcast.
of us would you have phoned as a friend? to help you
For
with
this question, I feel like Cameron has it also on the tip of his tongue. Maybe not.
I was about to say I'm going to show my youth here. I have no idea what you guys are
Then
talking
you just
about.
lost me $1 million,
I'm
Cameron.
sorry.
If I
I'll
heard
think
4,
of it.
I'd
Always
get it.
go see.
I'll think I'll always go see. I'll think of it before the end of this podcast.
What are we referring to?
A
You
League of
have
Their
to see a
Own.
League of Their
Okay,
Own.
okay, I thought so.
Yeah.
That's gonna actually we're gonna skip Last Jedi and do a League of Their Own next.
That sounds great. If Madonna's in it, I'm down.
Great.
Well, I mean, I guess just like even I know we're gonna break down every character, but first off, I mean, like these were like built on such. You were kind of touched on this briefly, just like
Marla
such a-
Hooch.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Frank. I had to. Go
Nicely
ahead.
done.
Go ahead.
But such a rocky foundation with the way, just like the tone
Can I get a
of
filmography,
Man of
please?
Steel and Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
It was just like I mean, Wonder Woman was a nice change of pace.
Well, and like, yeah, because and basically, so 4 films to Justice League. So 4 films of setup. Suicide Squad. Chris, you were saying this, I think before the record. Like Suicide Squad did like nothing, no setup at all, and then Man of Steel was not built to be a franchise like foundation, and so basically only really 2 and I mean Wonder Woman was set so far in the past that it really was just establishing her. So you had 1 film was dedicated to building this universe and then jumped to Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, you're right. This was a very flimsy foundation that had been built on, or rocky to make it sound a little bit nicer.
Well, and even then, they went out of their way to try and retcon so many elements of that movie. I mean, it's like
yeah.
Bruce Wayne's
and-
like Superman was a beacon of hope for everyone. Like you fucking tried to kill him.
Yes.
Like
That just bugged me. Like how could they not expect the fans to go like,
yeah.
that is not
Well,
how
and
it was in Batman versus Superman.
They're even trying to retcon the fact that Wonder Woman hadn't been around for a long time. They're like, oh, we have to address the fact that in BVS we said that she hasn't been around forever, and then in the end of Wonder Woman, she decides she's going to go become a beacon of hope for everyone. Like they're just constantly trying to reconcile their own fuck ups.
What do you think about? I feel like they tried to remedy that by giving Bruce this real like mean bitch fit.
What was
How'd
the
you feel
point of that
about
even? I
that?
thought that was so dumb. It was like you have Wonder Woman who's this incredible character in her own movie who is defined by so much more than her relationship to Steve Trevor. And in this one, it's Bruce is just like, oh, like this is your weak spot. I'm gonna like use that to get at you because there was a guy once in your life. Like that seems to undermine her entirely. She's
Well,
about so much more than that.
I like, first of all, that got him punched, but also that I like that all the other superheroes were like, yeah, well, you were being a dick. I did this research. So I'm glad they called it out, but it felt forced for me. Like a weird, like, oh, well, we really need to have this moment of conflict for all of them. And it's like, you really didn't need that because you had
No.
little
Well,
conflicts between them individually, which I felt,
And that's-
some of those worked, I felt like.
Like that's kind of what DC's been so good about is DC was never really built on those interpersonal conflicts like Marvel was. DC just always created bigger threats for their heroes
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
a reason for them to have to unify. And so it is just sort of strange, this marvelization of these characters because it's so against who they are.
Do you feel like one of the things that has driven me crazy, but I don't know if there's a solution here. Like when I see the DC films, the newer ones, one of the reasons I like some of the not older, but the Dark Knight and those movies is that they felt so real to me, and and that to me has set them apart from like the Marvel movies, which are like big and colorful and aliens and space and all of these things, right? All those elements, which I think work really well for Marvel. In this, I felt like I could have left the last 45 minutes and I could have gotten and walked out and been like, well, that was kind of a fun
Yeah.
little jaunt and missed the whole big like ending conflict and battle of the film. And I feel like first of all, that shouldn't be the case ever, but also between this and like Batman versus Superman, it's like it's like the whole alien thing. It's like you've got magic and aliens and mythos where I feel it's like obviously Superman's an alien, so there's that, and I never minded that. And I like Wonder Woman is like a goddess, and I never minded that. It's when you have the big bad coming from like out of the universe that for me kind of disrupts the reality of this Gotham City.
I
world.
do want to say really quick,
Uh-huh.
I'm happy to see a progression in film in general, but besides the boom tubes, there was no giant hole over New York in this film. So that was I was ecstatic.
Very true. Very
at
true.
that.
Yeah.
Instead, it was in a nuclear silo.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any
But-
way to remedy that,
but,
but
like,
it feels like disjointed to me. Do you know?
But that's what Marvel did a good job of. That is like it's entirely an alien threat in the Avengers,
Uh-huh.
but they hitched it to the familiar threat of Loki. And DC didn't have anything familiar for us to latch onto with this. It was all concepts introduced in this film. Like even the piece that the technology that they're fighting over in the Avengers had a whole movie before it. Like if Wonder Woman would have somehow addressed
They had
the
a
mother
mother box,
boxes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true. Yeah.
That would have been an opportunity because that's all of what freaking Captain America is about is trying to get the Cosmic Cube, the Tesseract, back, and then that becomes the central item in the Avengers. And then this huge threat that's outside of the world and introducing some crazy concept that hasn't really been a part of it is latched onto Loki, who is a character that we've spent an entire movie with and understand his motivation and his villainy. And this was just all disjointed parts.
Okay, that's a good way of putting it because it's like I've always liked that dark reality, like a heightened dark reality, at a time where wind-up penguins were the biggest threat. Am I right, you guys?
But even
Yeah.
stuff like that was cool. Like,
Yeah,
let's
like,
go
I
back.
didn't
Let's
mi-
go
I
back
didn't
to
mind that.
positives.
That
I
made
like
me laugh.
that.
That made me laugh. But yeah, I just thank you because I was like I know this bothers me, but I don't know if there's a way of fixing it and also making like diehard comic book fans who've grown up with this story happy still.
They just want to
know?
skip ahead.
Yeah.
That's why we already had the death of Superman.
Ugh.
That's why the Flash movie is going to be Flashpoint. That's why basically the Batman is Dark Knight Batman, and why we're jumping already to Apocalypse. For whatever reason, DC wants to catch up, and they are just leapfrogging important setup pieces just to get to wherever it is that they want to be, which you have no idea what that is. Marvel, we have no idea what's going to happen after Avengers, but we have faith that it's going to be something.
I
And it's like-
want to bring that up. There's like a big point because like when we get through all of their big stories, where does DC go after we get? We've had Death of Superman. We're gonna get Darkseid. We're gonna get Flashpoint. I assume we're gonna get a Death in the Family story at some point.
That has already happened.
Huh?
That Dead Robin.
Oh yeah,
Death in the Family's
yeah.
already happened. Like, so huge Batman stories have already been glossed over too.
Yeah.
So DC's already done that stupid thing of
Mm-hmm.
creating a narrative that makes it impossible to utilize some of the biggest stories of theirs.
Right. Like, what do they do once their biggest stories are done? Are we gonna get a crazy Blackest Night? Are we
Yeah.
gonna get like? Are
That-
they
well,
gonna
that's-
attempt maybe a 4-part Crisis of Infinite Earths?
Yeah.
'Cause you can't make that in a 2.5-hour movie.
No, but it's like, it's so like but they've had this problem for a long time. I remember, and I think I've mentioned this before, probably on the BVS thing. I was at Comic-Con and was talking to a guy who had gone to the Green Lantern panel for the Ryan Reynolds movie.
I was there.
Were you?
I was in that panel.
You're at that panel?
Yeah.
So you remember
Where
that?
Ryan Reynolds gave the ring to a kid, and I was furious that I didn't get it.
All right. Well, that's. We're gonna take a moment to acknowledge that, but we're gonna breeze past
Move
it.
on. Yeah.
I want to talk about that trip.
So you heard them talk about the overarching plan of how they were building towards Blackest Night. That was gonna be movie 3, and it's like, what the fuck is that gonna be movie 3 for?
Joss Whedon showed a trailer in the the Jeff Johns panel at Comic-Con that year. He showed a trailer for the Flash movie
Yeah.
that I don't think ever got leaked online. It might be online, but yeah, like they were fully prepared to continue on that.
Yeah. And but they have this whole thing of just like, we're not gonna do any setup. We're just gonna jump to what we want to do and we want to say.
I was gonna say Chris is just
Well-
fuming in
well,
the corner over there. And
What I
don't
was
know.
thinking is, do you think they should have just doubled down on their failures? Like, so I mean, you can go way back to even like Superman Returns. You can go back to Green Lantern. Like, those weren't the critical and commercial successes they were hoping for. Yeah, whoever's around us agrees. I mean, they're fanatic about how terrible this is. Like, do you think that they should have just started their work back then and said, okay, look, Green Lantern wasn't what we thought it was going to be exactly, but let's go ahead and, like, keep that character. We're going to do slightly different version of him. We're going to move forward. Now, it seems like what they keep doing is things don't work, and then, like, we'll just redo it. I mean, that's what they're constantly doing, and that's what's gotten them so far behind Marvel, and now they're trying to catch up.
Well, yeah,
And
they've
it's-
had how many false starts?
3.
Yeah.
I would say the Dark Knight trilogy. We can
But
count,
but
we
but
can
Dark
count-
Knight was never supposed to build to anything, or else Christopher
They-
Nolan would have walked
they
away
weren't,
from that.
They wasn't intended to, but you know for goddamn sure that Warner Brothers. I mean, there was all those reports that they were trying to get Christian Bale back in. They're trying. I think that
Yeah.
we can consider that a false start in the sense that Warner Brothers would have wanted that to spin off into something. So that Superman Returns, Green Lantern. I would even argue that Man of Steel in some ways is also kind of a false start because that was clearly not their intent, but they just went for it anyways.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even
Well,
when
I think that answers your question of this is what happens when they double down on their failures. Like
Burn.
we are basically deciding that Man of Steel is a false start because it wasn't intended of it.
I
And
get-
so it
yeah.
falls into the same category of like what if they had built the franchise off Superman Returns or Green Lantern? They did that. This is it.
Yeah, I guess it's
They
fair,
just
yeah.
chose, well, fuck it. We gotta go. We can't delay this anymore. We can't keep having these standalone things. It's got to be something now.
Do you think it would have been better if they had started off with, say, like Superman Returns or Green Lantern instead of Man of Steel?
Well,
Those
isn't that
movies
what
specifically? No.
who was it? Was it George Miller?
Yes.
With
Oh,
the
it's supposed to-
initial
yeah.
Justice League movie that never made it off the ground.
Like him
That's
and
what it was
Armie Hammer and
supposed
all
to
that.
be.
But
right?
again,
Yeah.
like-
Who?
Armie Hammer was supposed to play Green Lantern.
Army Hammer?
But it,
No, it was Armie Hammer was gonna be Batman.
Oh yeah, that's right.
See if I can remember everyone. Who's the guy from the OC? The dark-haired guy. He was gonna be
Oh, yeah.
Adam Brody.
Adam Brody was gonna be Flash. There's a Megan
Mullally.
Gale. Megan Mullally was gonna be Wonder Woman.
I would see a DC movie
Yeah.
with Megan Mullally in
I
it.
want to say it's like Megan Gale. She was in Fury Road. She was gonna be Wonder Woman.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I forget everyone.
But again,
else,
like,
honestly.
look at this systemically. DC, let's start off with Justice League. It's like, come the fuck
Oh,
on. Like,
thank-
that's what it's every
All right.
time they want to just get to the end.
Thank you, Cameron. DJ Catrona. I don't know who that is. It's gonna be Superman.
Oh, that was the
Common was supposed to be Jon Stewart. That would have been pretty good.
Common would have been pretty good.
Jay Baruchel would have been Maxwell Lord, which would have been weird. A weird
Yeah.
choice.
Wait,
Which
Jay
Who's Santiago Cabrera? He was gonna be Aquaman. I don't know.
but the DJ guy, I think he was like the hot guy that Terry Hatcher was banging in Desperate Housewives.
Which one?
Oh,
The initial one.
Wait, are you,
Like the first
Yeah,
one. I
okay,
think
the
that's
gardener?
DJ Contra. Yeah,
wait,
yeah,
no,
the gardener
No,
one.
the gardener. That was Jesse.
Ethan Longoria.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Just,
But again,
He was
like
in- he was
that,
in the
that's
Dallas
like
reboot.
that's like the Mick G
Mick
level
G.
like casting right there.
Yeah, I think it's one of those weird things where, like, in hindsight, everyone's like, "Oh my god, that movie would have been so great because it was George Miller and
Yeah.
like some of the cast." I think Armie Hammer's
Well-
Batman would have been good, but let's be honest, that movie probably would have been fucking terrible.
But it's like DC was never built on a created universe. Like Shazam was Fawcett Comics,
Yeah.
and they bought it and integrated it. The Flash and Green Lantern were published by DC, but part of a different line.
Yeah,
So they've never had this, and so it's just like they need to figure out what they're doing because what they're doing is wrong, and they need to understand that unlike Marvel, they don't have a foundation of always being a shared universe. And how do you figure that out?
Oh well,
Frank?
I mean, like Jeff Johns. I mean, he's supposed to be kind of stepping in now to like be like the Kevin Feige. I don't know how much of a say he had over or any input that he had with Justice League.
I feel like he had input at the end of pre-production, and then they had to figure out what to do during production and post to adjust. That'd be my guess.
Well, he's featured in the.
Thank you. Special thanks.
Well, he's listed Jeff Johns PGA as a producer in this
Oh,
film. But I was gonna say he's in the production book, like the art book. We
Mhm.
just got it in at my work, coming out this Tuesday.
Oh,
How is it?
It's all right.
The art book.
The art book, they're interesting designs. I was mostly just trying to. They didn't have anything on Steppenwolf.
surprise!
It was like very little like design work of Steppenwolf, and so
I mean, they
that's
nailed it on their first try. So they
yeah,
didn't have to do any
So
more
it's like some
concept.
guy just scratched it on a napkin and just like got it.
It's like, what if
Um,
we made his chin balls?
I'm thinking like a hammerhead shark with a ball sack.
Yeah,
That's
no, that's
right.
what I was hoping to see. Like, all right, let's see the iterations that they didn't go with, and there was nothing there, which makes me think that they really didn't design. It was always going to be CG, so there was no costume designer ever coming up with a design for it. It was all just going to be models, so they didn't
Everything
include
was
those.
CG.
Yeah. Oh my
Everything
god,
was
did they
CG.
build any sets?
No,
No,
this-
it's like,
this
guys,
movie?
just go to a real cornfield. There are so many cornfields.
Well,
We have
the-
a plethora of corn. Just go find
There's-
We have
one.
There's-
mostly corn in the middle of this country.
Yeah,
Like-
go during magic hour. And can we just, for half a second,
Tim lamp.
don't ruin the lamp?
No, I keep editing
There's
it.
so much, and I hate Superman's suit.
Yes. Okay.
I hate it.
Worst
It looks
version of his suit.
glowy.
It's a weird color. Like there's all these weird muscle accents in the whole thing. It looks very bizarre. I mean, like I actually like. I'm not a huge fan of like the Man of Steel suit, but that looks better than this.
This
also,
is so
he-
weird next to everybody.
Superman doesn't need armor. Superman could like come up with a reason for it to look like cloth or look a little better than it's just like the George Reeves, Christopher Reeves,
Yeah.
spandex thing. Like, come up with a reason for it to. But like, he doesn't need armor plating, all this stuff. Like, give him something a little bit better,
I
like
wanna-
something a little bit more classic.
I want to know what you thought. I have questions like for kind of everybody, but I want to know what you thought of Superman in this because you're like the biggest Superman fan that I know. I'm talking to Frank, people who can't see me gesturing emphatically,
They knew.
and they know, and also of his costume because I know you like Superman and I know you're real into costumes.
And we know you like beefcakes.
That's
Yes.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Done and done.
Beef
Not forget chest
pies,
hair.
ideally beef pies.
That's right.
Mullets, I
Chili.
think, are in your wheelhouse.
Yep. I had heard before going in like, oh my gosh, Henry
Frank
Cavill's
is
great
Frank
in
is
this.
rocking a mullet right now
That's
for
right.
our audience members that can't see him.
That's right. Right. Yeah, and a
You-
salute to the '90s Superman.
To kick you kicked off. How did you feel about the super mullet not appearing?
Thankful. That's my least favorite. Like,
We just
How
discussed the
dare
super
you.
mullet. I didn't know it
Superman-
existed.
Oh, Superman just does not need
Yeah.
a mullet.
But-
He's better than that.
Would you guys have liked to have seen the black and silver suit at some point?
That would have
though?
been cool.
Yeah,
to
I was
see
really
that,
disappointed
yeah.
that it wasn't in there at all.
That we just instead get him shirtless instead.
So you said you'd heard that you'd heard like, oh, that Henry Cavill's really good in this. So what did you?
Oh yeah, that he's like, oh my gosh, he smiles, he's great. It's like it's a like an optimistic Superman. which I don't know. I mean, he was better than he's been before, but we still saw so little of him though too. I thought I was really disappointed
Yeah.
by that.
I was really. We're like.
Well, okay, so
I was so bummed with Lois. Like you ruined me with the Lois Lane Superman issue where they get married because she was so fucking awesome in that issue. And you come here and she's just like, "Well, I can't save the world with my words." And then it's
Well-
like final monologue. It's like, well, you haven't been monologuing this whole time. Where does
That was a
monologue come
terrible
from?
monologue.
it was terrible monologue. It also
I
didn't
just
help.
I thought it was going to keep going and then just ended what I felt like mid sentence. And I'm like, oh, that's the last words of the film.
Yeah.
Okay.
It didn't help that Amy Adams clearly did not want to be there. Like,
Okay, we were gonna try and discuss individually which
The
characters wanted
characters.
to be there.
Okay, sorry.
Let's,
Let's
no,
back up.
no. Well, let's start that off with which actors do you think wanted to be there and which ones didn't want to
okay,
be there?
I can answer this very quickly. Jason Momoa wanted to be there.
Yes.
Ezra Miller wanted to be there. Ray Fisher, I believe that's the actor
Cyborg.
from
Yeah.
Cyborg. I think he kind
was
of
just glad to be
kind
there.
of wanted to be there, and that's it.
You don't think Gal Gadot wanted to be there?
I love Gal Gadot in Wonder Woman. I have issues with the third act of that movie, but I never have issues with her in that movie. I think she's amazing. I think she's perfect casting. I feel like they did not get a good performance out of her in this one. Like maybe it didn't help that the direction she was giving was poor, or it didn't help that she didn't have good people to bounce off of. Because like Ben Affleck didn't even phone it in; he texted it in. Like he was putting in no effort on this whatsoever.
I thought Gal Gadot actually did really well. I think, especially in the more conversational moments, I think she had a lot of really nice subtlety.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was shot strangely.
Yeah.
Like there was somewhere like all of like
Ass.
this so much ass. But
Yeah,
I was like the ass. But then also like there were so many like shirtless men that I'm like, all right, there's something for everyone.
Beefcakes, Frank.
Beefcakes, Frank. But
Whoa.
like she was shot so very like the angles were just like every time they showed her she's doing this thing.
Just like this weird smolder sort
And
of
I
thing.
feel and like every single thing, and I don't feel like they shot her that way, or
No.
and that's all direction, and that's DP.
Well, that's
Well,
that's the
and-
difference
you
between Patty
know,
Jenkins and Zack
exactly,
Yeah,
Snyder,
and
though,
I
isn't
think
it?
that was very evident because I think the moments where she got to be just like conversing, and like I thought she had some nice moments with she and Cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you
I'd
know?
agree with
and
that, actually, yeah.
and I thought that she played those moments very like nicely and understatedly, and she actually would not have been my first choice for this character.
Mhm.
But she's very much impressed me. I think
Yeah.
she's blown me away. So yeah, I don't know.
But you can make a gender studies course
yes.
comparing the Wonder Woman stuff in BVS and this to Wonder Woman.
Oh,
Because you're
certainly.
you're right. This is the difference between Patty Jenkins and Zack Snyder.
Yes.
Did
but
you see the image that came out comparing the Themyscira armor between the two films?
Oh, I didn't see, but I noticed it in the theater. I was
Mhm.
looking at it. I was just like, And
All
her
those very
costume.
practical tube tops.
Yeah, I know, right? But even just like her costume, weirdly enough, it's like, oh, did we lose some? We've gone from a full coverage bottom to a cheeky now. Like it's gone. It's like this, and upskirt shots. And I never ever felt like, I just never felt watching I felt like she was like fully owning her body in the other movie, but I never ever felt like, oh, I'm just supposed to be staring at her ass right now.
There was a
you know?
really interesting, on a weird place that I found this. It was on some random like fitness YouTube channel,
Mhm.
but they were interviewing her stunt double,
Hmm.
and she was talking about the differences between working in Wonder Woman and the Justice League. Said her biggest thing being a stunt double is in Wonder Woman she was able to wear knee pads because like the armor would cover knees and elbows, and so
Mhm.
she could wear pads. In this, she had to like do it
Yeah.
like in an unsafe environment basically.
Yeah,
like,
that's
she
and
couldn't wear that
that
anymore.
I think that says a lot. You know, it really does. And I loved that was one thing in the that I loved that they had the arm guards for their quivers.
Yeah.
You know, like they had shit that made sense.
Yeah.
You know.
It felt like in Wonder Woman she was portrayed as beautiful and powerful,
Mhm.
and this time she's portrayed as like sexy and badass, and those aren't quite the
Yeah, they're
same
yeah,
things.
yeah.
And
Well, the only time she really shines that like the Wonder Woman you see in the solo film, the only time that ever shines in BVS is that time where she gets like sucker punched by Doomsday, gets knocked against the
Oh,
cement,
yeah.
and then just like shakes it off and smiles as she jumps back in.
Mhm.
And everything else is just either she's fucking hot or you're right, she's a badass. Like this doesn't feel like an empowered thing in a lot of the fights. Like you kind of also have to remind yourself, oh yeah, that's right, she's a god now. Because like
Yeah.
in Wonder Woman, she was a lot more vulnerable, and that sort of plays in her fights. But now she's like God mode.
And frankly, a couple times I was like, oh, all right, we get it. Like, she's also maternal. She's like, the woman you want is your mom and the one you want to fuck. She's like, I work with children. It's like, all right.
Yeah, she
like,
should have like looked at the camera.
I know,
Like,
yeah, and
Yeah.
just it's kind of like weird, and it's subtle. I don't know if I honestly I didn't go in looking for that, like, and for the most part, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this movie because I was fully I went in like angry. I was so mad, and I saw every post from you about what garbage it was.
I literally told people don't go see it.
I know you did.
I've warned everybody. I've had friends go and see it. I'm like, why? Why did you do it?
Because I had to talk
Well,
about
I know,
it. For
I know.
this.
We were
Chris.
set. We had to do it. Yeah, we
yeah.
had to do it. I had other friends who did not have to then record a podcast about it, and I told them
I
don't
know.
go, and they said I'm gonna go anyways. I'm like, no, don't.
There were some good moments in here, but especially now that we're discussing it, I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, I get it. Like, she's really hot and really beautiful, but also kind of your mom. It's like, can we dissect that? Can we talk about a class
Yeah.
being taught on the Oedipal complex?
So,
This whole thing.
kind of along those lines, how does this film make you guys feel about the previous DCEU films? Like, do you feel any differently about them now that you've seen this one?
I mean, it's tough because I mean, I feel like the first two, Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, which were kind of such duds,
Yeah.
and the characterization of Superman was just awful. Like, I don't need to see a dark and gritty or
Yeah.
gloomy Superman. It was just like seeing a movie about two gloomy dudes, and it's like, no, we need to have Superman supposed to be the contrast, the balance of Superman to Batman, and we never got that.
Did you feel that the little bit of screen time that Henry Cavill had this time around, and they were obviously trying to make him more optimistic, do you feel that that worked?
Yeah, but it's just like, but we just try to make the audience think like, hey, guess what? Batman v Superman, it really wasn't as gloomy as you thought, guys. He was a really cool dude the whole time. But it's like,
There was the scene. Oh, sorry, you go.
No, I'm just gonna say it's the same. It's just I hated Batman vs Superman so much. I hated it so much, you guys, that I was angry through the whole thing. I sat and I was mad through the whole movie, and then I was angry and mad during Suicide Squad. I was so upset. So for me, there were moments in this movie that I wasn't angry and didn't want to like. When Batman versus Superman, I wanted to just like choke him so that he
was it
expressed
flames?
something.
Flames.
Huh?
On the side of your
Just
face.
on the side of my face. Yeah, I was so angry. All the flames and crocodile nonsense. But yeah, I wanted to like just choke him so that I would something would happen.
well, they have that scene at the beginning of the movie, which is part of the reshoots, where it's like shot on a killed cell phone, and he's interviewing Superman.
oh my god.
And I just like that scene. I was just like,
No. But the first laugh this movie got from me was when it intentionally cut just before. What do you like about this world? Cut. It's like, oh fuck you, Zack Snyder. When Superman has to fucking think about and he couldn't even come up with anything. It's just like, fuck you, like that. But I get what you're saying. Like, it was just such a weird scene to start off with, but it was just also like just this cementing of why Zack Snyder's point of view on that character doesn't work.
it's a shame that it's been allowed to go that long, and I feel like that's maybe the problem of not having like a Jeff Johns installed, like a Kevin Feige right from the get go.
Yeah.
And that you have just too many people like letting bad choices be made about the way that some of these long-term characters are made.
Speaking of bad choices, I feel like this is the perfect time to finally bring this up, and that is Batman's stupid ass smile when Superman shows up for the first time. He looked like, what is the
So this was my biggest problem with the movie.
that scene in particular, because that was mine.
The whole end fight sequence of the whole movie's building, the posters, the advertisements, everything's building to we need to be a team. We can't do this alone. That's the whole point between Aquaman and Batman. It's like no one man can do this. We have to do it together. And the final fight scene was them stalling for Superman to come and actually do it. It wasn't a team effort. It was we are the backup line waiting for the A team to show up.
True.
Which is just Superman, and he's the only one that gets to hurt Steppenwolf. We're gonna hit him with a sword and a trident real quick, so we can look like we inputted in this fight. But they did nothing in that end fight.
Cyborg should have had his like him separating the mother boxes should have been the emotional climax of whatever his story is.
Yes.
Also-
He should have had a moment. He should have been the one to like send him back. It should have been oh, we inspired fear so they will attack you. It should have been like, boom, motherfucker, and then send him off.
Yeah.
Didn't he also get pulled apart? Did I miss that?
He
I
did.
thought he got pulled apart. It was like, okay, you've all seen Misery. I felt like Kathy Bates, like, you're trying to trick us. Like, he didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car. It's like he got pulled apart. And then he was just like, boop, and I'm fine, and standing up. I was like, nuh-uh.
They probably. We're probably gonna get a moment of like, oh, that was just like the mother box repairing itself. Kind of
Whatever.
bullshit.
He got his arm shredded, and I was like, oh shit. And then I was like paying attention because I was like, oh, he is gonna get ripped apart. And then he did get ripped apart, and then he was back in one piece. We didn't see the healing properties. We didn't see anything like that. That made me mad, but not as mad as Batman's suit now being a two-piece. That upset me.
Oh, like the
You
under
like that?
layer. Yeah.
It was his whole suit, but he was like, oh, but it's two. Here's like my shirt is separate from my pants. Isn't it supposed to be
Oh.
one piece?
Not in the comics.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean that's how you get shirtless Batman fighting Ra's al Ghul. It's two pieces.
All right. Well, it looks stupid.
I mean, that's what we need to build. They've
It
like
looked
now
dumb,
that he's
though.
now that he's old Batman, we can't get shirtless Ra's al Ghul desert fights.
I mean, I would agree that
or shirtless
We,
pseudo rape scenes to create Damian Wayne.
oh no. We do need shirtless Batman with the cowl on. It just has to be someone other than Ben Affleck. Because look, he got ripped, like he got jacked for Batman vs Superman, and this he's just no.
Can I
Just-
say
just doughy?
that-
No.
Reshoots.
Yeah, right. Oh,
I feel bad. I don't want to body shame Batman, but,
But we can-
heavy bat. Can I just say, Batfleck literally took out a villain with his girth.
yeah.
He literally, one of the first people I saw him take out in this film, he jumped while everybody else is like, "Pew," speed and like, "Pew," all these things. He literally jumped and off the top story and landed on a guy and crushed him with his body weight.
Yeah.
And then like teetered off to fight
I think we can feel comfortable body shaming Ben Affleck.
because he doesn't seem
But,
like a nice person.
Like,
A little bit of that.
Or because of his Phoenix tattoo on the back that they had to cover up. Like that.
Is
Look
it
up
real
his
Phoenix
he-
or is it the band Phoenix?
No, it is a giant ass. This was revealed to me just this week, just before I saw the movie. It's which is insane to think because we see that whole back. His back is this huge Phoenix thing that he got post Jennifer Garner divorce.
Oh, that's
So
like
he has gotten it
Oh my
since
God.
signing up
Wait
for these
for it.
movies.
Why didn't you just
It's-
buy a Porsche like a normal person going through a midlife
It's
crisis?
huge. Look at it.
for. just
It's
for
his
s-
whole back.
Oh,
It is
oh.
straight up.
Everybody,
Oh
everybody,
my
if you need it,
God.
if you're listening to this and you need to pause the podcast and go Google Ben Affleck Phoenix tattoo, and then come back, and we'll be here to you to yell about it.
do you guys like him as Batman in this movie, or do you feel like is he worse than he was in Batman versus Superman? Is he phoning it in more?
He has a line that I think portrays him perfectly. And it's when him and Wonder Woman are arguing about if Superman should come back. And I think Alfred steps in, is like, why do you want Superman? He's like, he needs to be the leader. And at this point, he's more human than I am. And I think that's like, yeah, that's a stupid line. But I think that also is like that is why Batman just doesn't care. Is because like he's seen everything bad at this point. Like he's just saving the world because like feels like he has to at this point. There's no other reason besides like this is a chore for me to do.
I'm
I would've
under
liked-
contract with Gotham City.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
would've liked
10-picture deal. We've only done 8.
That line would have meant more to me if the relationship in Batman vs Superman was more amicable for
Yeah.
a lot longer. I don't know if we needed to have them. It spent too long getting them to fight than the actual fight, and then I felt like that was a nice line, but I felt like there was just no emotional weight behind it. So like these guys
No,
hated each other.
I would agree with that. Like I came out of Batman vs Superman going, look, this movie is fucking garbage, but I was at least optimistic of where Ben Affleck would go with it because he seemed like he was. I was curious to see where he'd go with it. He seemed to have at least something interesting to do. He had no character in this whatsoever.
Well, it seems like it's also based on his loss of everything else. Like the Batman movie, the writing, and all that stuff. Like losing that has sort of like now he's sort of tanking it. It seems.
Like I after BVS, I wanted him to continue after this. I really want him to get replaced. Like I'm like adamant about it now. Like really want him gone.
I would dig him like in a Matt Reeves Batman if that happens and he stays around for that. I'd like to see what that would do.
I mean, maybe with a better director, maybe if he actually gave a shit. I think the problem is he doesn't give a shit anymore.
Well, I think if he was given better material to at least invest in, like this stuff has been kind of.
Here's my pitch for Flashpoint. We're gonna get the Batman versus Deathstroke fight scene. Flash is gonna go back in time. When we come back, they're gonna switch roles, and Joe Manganiello is now Batman as he strikes down Ben Affleck, and we don't see him again after that.
This was kind of I don't know. I did not like Batfleck at the beginning. I thought he was not bad in this, and I think it's also really hard to say like, oh, that person's like miserable in this role. It's hard for me to make that call. Like I don't know. I think it's all in the direction.
Yeah,
But I think he had moments of like of kind of being a mentor. And he had some of the humor shit was so ham-fisted that I'm like, I don't want that. But but there were but there were a couple moments that I didn't mind. I thought his relationship with the Flash was okay. I thought he played it
But there was a
fine.
beard question I have because
Oh,
at
yeah,
the
go
beginning
back to
of
the
the
beard.
movie, he's like
Yeah.
Gotham City and he's fighting and he gets a guy and he fights a parademon
Yeah.
and then he goes to find Aquaman and he's rocking a full beard and
Yeah.
that is
How long was he gone?
it makes
I
it
had the
seem
same
like
thought.
It's like he just went the next day.
Yeah.
Or later that day he
Yeah,
flew
that was
off.
weird.
And then he shaves it off like, wait a minute, where did you get that beard from?
well, they had to find a way to get that Gillette product placement in there somewhere.
Brought to you
Yeah,
by Gillette and Mercedes.
Mercedes doesn't make a razor, so they had to go to some other company to
Well,
try
that's
and get
probably
that in there.
fucking stupid reshoots. He
well,
probably
probably.
had a beard and it was probably earlier, and you reached out to him and it didn't work, and da 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 da.
That Lexus
I bet you're
product
right.
placement though for that car when he gets in or whatever.
Mercedes.
Oh, was it Mercedes? Was that
Mercedes.
listed it?
Mhm.
Oh,
Oh, that
man.
was a Mercedes, right?
Listen,
Sorry, guys.
Okay, I want to try and streamline this as little as I can.
Do it.
We've made it through 2 heroes so far.
oh
Yes.
boy.
We do have a resident expert of one of these heroes here with us
Oh,
in the
let's-
flesh.
Yes,
Frank talking about Cyborg.
that's right. Let's hear about the Flash. First,
Trevor.
you go.
Okay.
Yes.
So many questions.
So many questions. I mean, it's already like the Flash is on such rocky ground already
In
because we've had the weird ass dream sequence. Just in this, it's like this is a two-pronged thing of the Flash being on such rocky ground in the DCEU up until before this movie came out. The weird dream sequence in BVS, and then his one-off thing with Captain Boomerang and Suicide Squad. So
And-
it's like, all right, fun.
and we are disregarding, for the sake of this conversation, are we keeping TV Flash out of it?
Oh, he is out. He
Great.
is
Okay,
gone.
good. All right,
he,
great.
Grant Gustin is in the better multiverse.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. So Grant Gustin will not be involved in this whatsoever.
Okay.
But so it's like, all right, that's already kind of weird. And then you have like the additional behind the scenes stuff of the Flash movie supposed to be happening next year, and it has gone through directors. Like it's already gone through 2, if not 3, at this point. And so it's like already like a super rocky foundation. And you have one of like his foundational character is already said he's not going to be in the next one, which is Billy Crudup as his dad. So it's like, all right, well, there goes the huge emotional connection that you've established in this film that you have to reestablish in the next.
Don't you feel like though that since we've seen for
Yeah, we
3
don't fucking need him again in the.
Oh man, like we've seen this story played out on the TV show for not maybe to an
Ag-
extent.
but again, this shows Jeff Johns' power because that is a Jeff Johns created thing.
Oh,
My dad is an old school Barry Allen guy, like from the start.
Yeah.
And he's just like, that was never there. This whole dad, mom revenge thing. He got into crime because of basically he gave him a Batman origin.
And which I hate about that because I feel like that is such a boat anchor origin on that character.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily. Because I feel like every writer now focuses on that.
Yeah. No, he should just be a man dedicated to doing good, because that's also that's the thing that's, I mean, obviously they're totally aping the Tony Stark Peter Parker, although I mean they came out so close together that there's no way they could have really known about it, but that's very similar thing, is this like mentor mentee, because in the comic books they're like they get along because they're the two crime fighters, like actual like police work, detective work. That's where they get along because Bear will just talk shop with Bruce.
Yes, which I always liked. And I don't feel like you don't need not every hero has to have a tragic backstory.
Yeah, no,
No.
I like the fact that the Flash originally just was a cop, and he just got hit with lightning, realized his powers, and started going off.
Was he super young in that?
No, he was an adult.
Okay,
Like
he wasn't like a young cop. Like,
no. He's that nebulous adult age where it's
Okay.
he's not. He's probably older than
not
Bruce.
a girl, not yet a woman.
No, he's definitely
Yeah.
he was definitely a man.
Okay.
You know,
But this is Ezra Miller is definitely not yet a man, but not a boy.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about Ezra Miller as the Flash?
I liked it. Like,
I
I mean,
thought
it's just like I want to see more of the actual Flash as opposed to this retconned Wally Berry hybrid that we get with Ezra Miller. Like, I'd rather see like a contemporary of Bruce Wayne and see that relationship, that dynamic, as opposed to this mentor-mentee dynamic.
I thought he was cute and like likable. Like I was like, oh, he's like a little adorable. And I thought he did really well with what he was given, which to me, throughout the entire movie, but especially with him and with Cyborg, is like, oh, I get it. It's like it sounds to me like late 40s dudes writing what they think kids talk like.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And I felt like a lot of his dialogue was like that. Like, bro, like, what's the deal with brunch? It's like, all right, he's not like so awkward that he doesn't know what brunch is. And it's like we have
He
to.
just
Was that
doesn't like
was that
brunch.
joke like so successful the first time that we had to bring it back at the end? Like, I don't know that it was.
I in the trailers it looked like we were going to get an interesting use of super speed. We had the lightning effect going on whenever he used it.
oh, I hated that.
But okay.
Yeah, he's too powerful. Like right
Ah.
off the bat, he's too powerful. There's no way. Like again, now he can't fight the rogues.
Mhm.
They've made the Flash too powerful the same way Superman's too powerful that he can't just go fight a pickpocket.
Yeah.
Like the Flash is way too goddamn powerful.
He can fly.
But what really upset me with this movie is how they didn't try anything new. We got the
Yes.
exact same speed effect that we got with the past two Quicksilvers. Like even the Flash TV show, they get to do some fun stuff. Like in that brief fight moment between Superman and Flash, that was a boring underwater fight for me. It was slow motion. You see Superman turn his head. I want a full I was gonna ask who's your favorite speedster on film and television.
I mean,
anyone.
the Quicksilver sequences in X-Men are like the level of like speed in film. Because I mean, Grant Gustin Grant Gustin is just the 15 years later of the Superman blur effect.
Yeah.
And so it's just him in front of a green screen, always running against a sped up background. And
but
so,
that from the season premiere where he's running up the other side of that windmill up to
Yeah,
get-
yeah.
I love that.
That's- yeah, stuff like that.
That was a great scene.
but again, like that shows that's ingenuity coming from the limited budget.
Yes.
And these guys clearly have no imagination because they could do literally anything. And yeah, you're right. The best effect is the Superman like showing that he's fast too.
Well,
Yes.
So here's what I want a lot from DC. My favorite speedster on film is Dash from The Incredibles.
Ooh,
And
nice.
with having such a young Flash, I would have loved to see that interaction between him and Superman, where it's not a slow-mo, look, I can still see you bullshit that we get with everything slow-mo. I want Flash to like bolt up, disappear, reappear, punch Superman 1,000 times, go back, be like, yeah, what now? And Superman just like doesn't feel anything. Like I
Yeah.
want a super speed fight.
Well, this is where Jeff Johns failed, is because Jeff Johns has said in interviews, Flash has to be the fastest. Because if he's not, if Superman's faster than him, then what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
Good
What's
question.
the point? Yeah. What's the point of the Flash?
all of this?
If yeah, again,
What are we
like, that's-
doing here?
This is the like that. It shows that just Superman's the Deus Ex Machina of this.
Yeah.
He's just always gonna fucking like. How powerful is it? Like they made him Superman so powerful that it'd be ridiculous for anyone else to defeat anyone.
Yeah, and I guess that for me, going back to I mean, I was joking earlier, and I was like, "Oh, everyone can fly," but not really, because it's like I wanted to see. We've got Aquaman. Aquaman is like the amount of time I saw Aquaman underwater was exactly never. Like, you know what I mean? There's like up
Yeah.
at the beginning, and it was like that whiskey, pow, psh, underwater, rock music, and like, oh, well, I guess I'll just spend the rest of my time on land. I wanted there to be something. It drives me crazy when I see these ensemble films and not everybody's skills are utilized.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just becomes like, well, we'll all just fly then? Like it's not, whereas like, oh, there's something like
He's
you could-
in the air.
like you could have yeah, I
Like, what is
know.
the complete opposite of being underwater?
Yeah, and I think that they did a great job of being like he's not a mermaid. Like he can be on land. Like that's fine, and he can still be awesome on land. But I wanted to see that utilized somehow.
Well, because he never like swim. It's like he flies underwater.
Underwater.
Yeah.
He never swims, which I'm like, all right. I mean, and I don't know. Maybe it looks too dopey of somebody like doing this.
It looked
and
like
kicking their
he
legs.
did
don't
anybody
know.
else see Swiss Army Man?
Mhm.
It looked like he was just farting his way through the water.
Yeah.
There's
he
my
does.
fart jokes.
I do want to say I think the coolest underwater moment that we had was Mira, as Steppenwolf was going for the mother box. Mira opens like an air bubble and he
That's
just
cool.
sinks.
Yeah.
I thought that was great, and then I did have the question afterward of like, oh, how are they going to talk? And I was ready for like sign language maybe,
Yeah.
No, it's like, why
but they
can't
do make the air bubble.
I
and-
don't, which I don't like. It's like just talk. I mean, I'm used
Talking
to reading
underwater.
the comic books. They're talking underwater. Like just talk underwater, guys.
Yeah.
You can just do it. I believe you guys. You can make it happen.
Right.
So I hate that. Like if that's what the Aquaman movie is going to be like, where they always have to constantly make air bubbles.
Hey, you
so
taking
they
away
can
all the
talk.
cool thing about being underwater.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're just there. Just do your thing.
Now it's just a city in a bubble that just happens to not be on land.
But I like that she was kick ass though. It was cool to see Mira get a little chime to shine.
Yeah.
Also, why did he kick off he took off his jacket and his shirt to swim, but he didn't take off his pants or his boots? Who's gonna swim with boots on?
I feel like Blue Jeans.
Well, he doesn't swim, he
Aquaman.
flies.
I just didn't understand it. I
Hot
thought
licks.
yeah,
I mean, I know
licks.
we're getting his movie, so I mean, I guess like we'll learn more about him. Like, I guess accepting his mantle and deciding to take over, being the king.
Yeah,
of
but again, like,
Atlantis.
what's his story moving forward? Like another like missed opportunity. Like, we have no fucking clue as to what his relationship is to those people.
No, other than
just
that, like,
that
he just
he-
turned his back on him because his mom abandoned him with his dad, and so he like hates Atlantis.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mommy
I
issues.
guess.
They gave him a bit there, right? I mean, it was like, okay, like, yeah, he never felt like he belongs. He didn't show up. It did seem weird, though, because he says, oh, I've never come back to Atlantis. I don't want to be here. But then he also just goes there,
And
He
he's
just, like,
like, in
here's
a
my
moment
suit.
and just walks on in. Yeah.
And he just
And-
like reclaims his suit and his identity. Like his
Also-
suit was so. I was like, oh, I get it. He's like this rock and roll, like fuck the anarchy. Blah. I wear leather jackets and pants, and like I don't have a suit. And then he came walking in, and he's like,
Yeah.
oh, full like his full Atlantean.
What
suit,
he had
and
it
I was
on
like-
starting when he shows up in the tunnel, right?
Yeah, but that was
and
like
from that
but
point
it-
on,
But it's like I guess for me, I saw that very symbolic of like him embracing, like, oh, this is who I am. But I didn't see the moment.
yeah,
Yeah.
where that
there
happened.
didn't feel like there was an emotional like arc to correspond with him showing up in that suit. Also, what
Yeah.
what did you guys think of Aquaman's suit? I didn't love it. I'm hoping they do some sort of redesign when it comes around to the actual Aquaman movie. It felt very boring. It felt very generic.
Yeah.
Like,
How about his trident?
I mean, his pendant, because it wasn't even a trident. Like,
The pendant. It was kind
is that what it's called? It was 5? I don't know.
I don't
Yeah, it had
know.
five
points. Too
many points.
Pentadent.
So why? I didn't understand. I didn't understand. It was too small.
Well, I guess we get that nice little moment between him and Wonder Woman where he's sitting on her magic lasso.
That's yeah.
Did you guys
Mhm.
like that
Yeah.
last moment?
Yeah.
That falls into like one of the things we liked about Wonder Woman, which is like the everyday uses of the lasso.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun thing.
No,
And just a natural moment that extends out from a character as
Mm.
opposed to witty banter or commenting on a situation or anything like that. It's a natural moment, and
Yeah.
that's why it works.
Yeah, I like seeing them all hang out. I like that. I'm sorry, it's not anything to do with Aquaman. I liked it when Wonder Woman's like, if I wanted to kill you or call you out or whatever, it was, I would have done it by the lake. Like she knew that Cyclops was there. Not
Cyborg.
Cyclops, Cyborg. Blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
Sorry.
Same deal, basically.
Potato, potato.
Yeah.
That's it. We can go back to talking about Aquaman now. I like this.
No.
I like the little moments between them, and that's why I just wish this should have been just like this should have been a rom com or something
I feel like-
and not a stupid like this. The high points of this film for me were just them interacting, and like you bring in this stupid dumb Steppenwolf.
So
Like,
okay,
I don't
along
care.
those lines, then. So I mean, we know moving forward, Zack Snyder's not doing any more of these films, like for the wrong reasons, but he's gone.
What's the wrong reason?
His family.
His family tragedy,
Yeah.
so he's stepped away from the
Oh,
whole thing. Yeah, so it's
wow.
like it's not the right circumstances for him to be gone, but he is in fact gone from this.
Okay.
He's gone forever, or just
And
gone for a while.
I think
Probably depends
he's
on what
going to be
happens
gone
next.
forever. I think one, he wouldn't want to. I mean, from a personal perspective, I would imagine it'd be very difficult to come back and do any sort of stuff given like his family tragedy happened and the making of this. But also, I think on the DC side, they clearly understand that maybe they need to go in different directions.
yeah,
So,
it feels like an opportunity being seized, unfortunately.
yeah,
for
it's
Zack
the wrong
Snyder.
circumstances. So he's gone. So let's say that we do get a Justice League sequel. It's going to be them going up against the Injustice Society. It's going to be a different director. Was there enough in this for you guys to be excited about that possibility, or are you done? Because I think I'm done.
I want to see their individuals.
I'm
their
excited about
individual films. I
yeah.
don't give a shit about the next Justice League
No,
movie.
like,
I don't
I-
care.
I'm
Yeah,
excited for
I'm
Wonder Woman
tired.
2,
I'm
for Aquaman.
fatigued.
Yeah, I'm like
at this point, it's like for the podcast.
yeah. No, if I legitimately if I didn't have to see it for this, I wouldn't have seen this
The
movie.
people guys. The people have to know what we think about it. We have to keep bringing it to the
Sure.
people.
They have to know.
I mean,
have to know.
I have no.
Well, that
interest in
was
seeing
that
a
was
cyborg.
somewhat some like backhanded compliment review that I read that got highlighted in one of those. Like, what are the critics saying? Was see this movie so you could be part of the conversation.
Yeah,
Like that
interesting.
was the best pitch they could give for this.
So to summarize for the people that have listened for an hour and a half and are still on the fence, would you recommend this movie, everyone?
Man, this is like a definition of a meh movie for me. I mean, it's
no.
Yeah, we
It's-
know your opinion at this point.
just nah. It's not. I didn't hate this movie. Didn't make me as angry as Batman versus Superman did.
Amen.
Mhm.
That one made me just angry about
Yeah.
all the wrong steps they made. This one doesn't, but it also doesn't do anything to get me just jazzed. I was just like, I watch it, you smile a couple times at a couple little bright spots, but you're otherwise just like, ugh.
They-
I had this question going in of like, would I rather want a meh movie or a bad movie? Because we've had a lot of, in the past couple years, we've had a lot of like just passes the bar, like 40% movies.
It's very frustrating when you can see potential. It's almost
Yes.
more frustrating than a
This-
bad movie.
I think this tipped the line to the bad movie, but it's kind of a fun bad movie. Like we always joke about good bad movies and bad good movies.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this just made it to the bottom of the like good bad movie list for me. Like I'll watch it again at some point.
I would classify this as just a flat out bad movie. Like it made me really sounds strange, slightly appreciative for Suicide Squad and Batman vs Superman, if only because those movies were trying to do something. They fundamentally misunderstand their characters and they make horrible decisions, but they were actually trying to be full-on films in their own right. They had some sense of ambition.
How dare you, sir?
No, like I mean,
well, no, this was
but, like,
definitely
this-
made by committee.
Well, yeah, this
Yeah.
is made by McKinney. There was nothing. There was no risk taken on this. There was no ambition. There was no energy. There was no trying to do anything interesting. It was just so impossibly generic. Look, don't get me
Well,
wrong. I'm
no.
not going to go back and rewatch Batman vs Superman,
Thank you.
but I can at least say that had moments that felt cinematic. I don't think this had any whatsoever.
And maybe you feel different though. Oh, I'm sorry, Amanda.
No, go ahead.
If Zack Snyder had been able to finish this whole thing, nothing had happened in his personal life, and he kind of made this all the way through the end. Because I feel the combination of him and Joss Whedon, it does, I think, increase the mehness of it. It's
Yeah.
just two kind of very, I think, tonally different kind of approaches kind of coming together that don't necessarily fit.
Do you think though that this one was made more for the fans, while the other one was made more? Because I feel like this film, just from what I've kind of seen and heard, that this one was maybe trying to do more fan service, whereas the other one was trying to do more sell action figures.
I don't think this was made for the fans.
Okay.
Like what I read from this was we're desperately trying to course correct.
Okay.
I also don't think Batman vs Superman was made. Movie was made for one fan, Zack Snyder.
It was amazing, like that and Man of Steel that got made that are just so tonally against what audiences really wanted.
And I think they've screwed themselves a little bit, especially because I asked you, Frank, what you thought about Henry Cavill. I feel like the problem is, so now they're trying to be optimistic with him, but that's not who they cast. I don't think he's right for this role. They cast the broody Superman, and that's what they did. Now, like, oh, he's got to be the upbeat, positive Superman. I didn't buy those scenes when he was trying to be that way.
Yeah, because we never got to see him really be that in the other two films.
Yeah.
So now we're seeing it. I mean, if they want to go more in this direction, we see another film where he can be like this.
Yeah.
Or they do the Man of Steel 2 film and we get to see him like this. maybe I'll be more on board by the end of it. Like, yeah, now I'm getting to see Superman I enjoy.
Yeah.
There's something about him that has an old school charm that taps into Christopher Reeve and
It's the
George
chin
Reeves
dimple.
Yeah.
and yeah,
and-
and the voice and everything. But I think you're right. I think that was never on their minds
Yeah.
when they cast him.
To be
And
fair, I liked him in Man
Man from
Man
Uncle?
from Uncle.
Yeah.
So maybe.
I liked him in Tutors.
Hmm.
Oh, I've never actually watched
He was
Tutors.
dreamy in Tutors.
So-
But I do like that they lighten up the suit, which is nice. And but let's take a moment because I know Cameron and you guys mentioned it. Just when he shows up at the end and the chest hair is peeking out over the top of the suit, I'm like, seriously, guys? Nobody said like, hey, we should at least laser that off
Shave
before we
his-
film
I
this.
You didn't like. You had a big problem with that. It's so funny because you guys feel very opinionated about that, and I guess I just didn't. was like,
I have
"Oh."
strong opinions about chest hair. I was not a big fan of his
Okay,
chest hair in
all
this.
right,
But
okay.
it's like, wouldn't you look like in the mirror? You put on your costume. At some point, you see a reflective surface, and you see yourself. You're like, whoops,
You-
uh-oh. let
you
me just-"
trim.
and you've got
Yeah.
heat vision. You've got
Yeah.
your own personal, like you can just bounce it off the mirror and just.
Do you guys?
Take
This
that
is a
right
real
off.
question.
Bruce
I'm
should've
really
shaved
curious.
him.
Do you guys do? If I mean, I don't know your chest hair situations, but I guess like if you were wearing a shirt that like showed Leah like a little peak, would you groom? Is that something men
Yeah,
are supposed to do?
I have. I've done
I-
like
I'm-
little stuff, kind of like the random stray hair.
Uh huh.
It's like, oh, that's kind of not supposed
Yeah.
to be there.
Okay.
I'm
I didn't know
due
that.
for a trim actually. My razor's broken, so I need to get a new one. But I'm
Do
due
you
for a trim.
shave your chest?
I don't shave my chest. I trim it down though.
There you
Okay.
He's
Well,
get-
so sounds like that would be
Some
really
behind
razor
the scenes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just
Ooh.
curious.
Save it for the
I
next
feel like we've
cast.
talked about we talked about my laser hair. Well, maybe just I get laser hair removal, guys. That's my.
Oh,
behind
I
the
should talk to you
scenes.
about that because I've been looking into that.
We should chat.
actually.
I'll chat with you after this.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Offline it.
Offline
Save it.
conversation
Not
about
for the
this, yeah.
cast.
No.
Not for the cast.
Well, this shows the best thing about crossovers is that it reveals things about characters
That's
that
true.
normally
Yes.
the regular environment wouldn't allow.
Mhm.
Oh, everyone needed to know that about me. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's because I didn't. It didn't really bother me so much, but
Ugh.
but you guys
Ugh.
clearly feel very strongly about it. So I
Mhm.
was just curious. Okay, y'all. Just like a look
Yeah.
of indignation from all of you.
Like,
The only reason I brought it up was the very first. Before going in, I only heard 2 reviews, and both were kind of out of my. It was someone having a conversation next to me, and the
Uh-huh.
first thing I heard out of someone's mouth was, "Be on the lookout for his chest hair."
That's
So that's the only
funny.
thing that's been in my mind since like Monday.
Okay.
It's like it's gonna be like a whole like cat on his chest or something.
You know what? My friend, sorry to cut you off, but my friend, junior year of high school, dressed up. He had chest hair approximate, maybe even like Robin Williams level.
Oh,
This
wow.
this guy was hairy as a junior in high school. And for Halloween, he was Superman. And he shaved the S, he shaved the symbol and everything. And he had that much chest hair to do it.
Oh.
And so his hair was just the S.
I was gonna say
And so that's what Henry Cavill should have done.
in college, that's exactly what he should have done. In college, when I worked on the newspaper, there was our like account manager, him and a few of the other guys. They all for Halloween they shaved the bat signal into their chest, and it's always one of my favorite.
See,
things.
that's what we need to see. We need hairy men in these roles so they can shave the hero symbol into their chest hair.
Yeah.
So,
So
even
then when they
shirtless,
take their shirt off,
we
you
know
still
who's
know
who.
who it is.
Yeah.
For those people that have like face dysmorphia, like that's not the right word. People that
Yeah,
like
they
can't recognize
like
faces.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, they need that extra layer to be like, oh, okay, that's who I'm watching now.
They're gonna be like, oh no, just one more body part for me to not be able to recognize.
So would Cyborg then like trim his wires
Ugh.
into the shape of the?
No, he'd just be the metal guy.
His
He's-
hands were
he's
cool.
taken care of.
The mechanics, his hands looked cool.
But
on
again, like
screen.
I wish, like
no, you guys will just.
no, well, no, no, no,
ugh
no,
at
no, no.
me.
It's like I don't want to. It's just I wish like the last seconds of him on screen is he finally gets the true blue costume. It's like
Yes.
that when he did the motherboard thing, the mother box thing. That's when he should have changed.
Yes.
It should have been final battle, final power up. He gets the new suit. I'm back. Boom. It's like no, it's an afterthought. Hey, guess what, guys? Look out for Cyborg next time because he's gonna be different.
Great, but nobody cares about Cyborg after this film. Nobody does. The other thing too, I feel like there's a lot of people very liberal with the use of people's real identities. Like Clark, he gets thrown out a lot with police officers.
Oh my god, yeah.
and-
Lois
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh my god, Clark, don't do that. There's
Yeah.
a cop 2 feet
Yeah,
from you.
I'm like,
Also, the cop is
Clark
useless.
Kent.
She comes, yeah, she comes walking out. She comes walking out, and he's like, the cop literally feebly with one hand is like, and then he just is like, I won't be able to catch her. I'm like, just what are you are useless.
Yeah.
That way he at least, I tried, guys. You saw me
I
try.
tried.
I couldn't do it. That or like Aquaman throws out Bruce Wayne a lot. I mean, I know it's these people, this small fishing community, but still. Like,
Yeah,
I did have that at the end of the movie. I had that thought of like Clark was buried. I'm sure he has a death certificate.
Yes.
He can't go back to work.
Yeah, no, that's
Like he has to stay in that trench coat
Uh,
forever.
like a year.
yeah.
He
Yeah.
was. They said it's been a year since it, so he's been dead for a year. There's no way that he's like the class thing. Oh, it's on assignment or anything
Yeah.
like that. Like,
Yeah.
no, motherfucker, you were dead. You're Superman. Deal with like
And
now
you
we
don't-
know.
And you don't think people are gonna like? You have this whole thing like people are like, who's regulating the superheroes? You don't think that's gonna freak them out? It's like now they're zombies. Like,
Right.
It's the only thing. That
Didn't
can
we
make
have
this
a
worse.
funeral for goddamn
Yeah,
Superman, and now he's
exactly.
We have a
alive
whole monument set up. Be it now it's destroyed,
He's-
so it's
by
fine.
Superman?
He threw
Yeah.
his own head.
But like if the Clark,
Symbolism.
because the Clark thing, they actually put a body in the casket. Like if just like had done like there's no body.
Yeah, we missed the body.
Yes.
'Cause,
Then you could say like he got killed in a big battle, or he's
Yeah,
missing.
he was caught in the debris during
Yes.
the Doomsday fight.
Yeah, and he's missing. We can't. Nobody can find him. And then you could have him come back.
He
to
was
life.
in Africa. In
Well, I
that,
think
on-
in
that's what I think.
All-Star
I think he like
Superman-
they faked his death, like he died in like Africa or something like that. Like there was the
Yes.
death of Clark Kent.
Yep.
And he like died on assignment.
Yeah, wasn't it in? I think in the comics, he was trapped in the rubble, and it was like a weird thing where like that version of Supergirl wasn't from Krypton. She was like the Matrix or something. So
Yes.
she could shapeshift, and so she shifted into Superman to like drag Clark out of the rubble, and he was fine. And then I think in Superman Doomsday, the animated film, like he was the war correspondent, so everyone was like, "Oh, he may have been like killed on assignment. We don't know." And when he comes back, it's like, nah, he's fine.
Yeah.
he made it back. Like this, clearly, they're just gonna gloss over it entirely.
They just glossed over. They're like, it's just like hand behind your back and whistle when you ask about like, well, what about Superman's death? It's like we're just gonna make our own rules in this
Yeah.
movie. Like none of it mattered. You know.
What were we
This is
gonna
how it
say
felt to
about
me.
All-Star Superman? I forget. Like yeah, because he dies in that too.
Well, at the beginning, they make the point. I think they also probably make the point at the beginning of Superman Returns of like Superman was off planet for months at the beginning of that movie, and when he comes back, like Lois has some offhand comment of like, "We thought you were like stranded on we thought you died on a boat, like
Yeah.
going somewhere." And like, yeah, there's a million things you could do to kind of get around that.
Yeah, but it's like no, he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
No one had any thought that he was gonna come back.
Right.
Amanda's got a note that I know you also mentioned as well, Cameron.
I have a couple notes.
the
We hit almost
Russian-
all of my notes, but I have a couple.
The
more.
Russian
Russian
family.
family. Fuck
Yes.
that.
Oh,
Yes, lay camera. Come on.
Okay.
Come on,
That
bring it.
piece of shit.
Yeah.
So we're all in agreement that it took place in Sokovia. That was
Yes.
where that's the DC Sokovia.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only assuming it's just a response to everybody griping about Man of Steel and the big fight in Metropolis.
absolutely.
So, like, let's just
Joss
put it in the
wanted-
desolate area.
Yeah, because that was all Joss.
Was it?
Yeah, according to unknown sources.
Really? Because I mean, I feel like the trailers that we've been seeing for the longest time have showed a lot of that
So,
footage.
so much that he had left unsaid about Russian like lower class that he had to set it again in a Russian the finale in a Russian
Yeah.
village. It's like, all right, there was so much I had left to say about the social economics things in Sokovia. I want to go back there, and that's clearly why he did it.
Yeah. I did thank you to my lovely partner Chris. I finally read Superman Red Sun, and after seeing his like, because we always know that speedsters have ADD. That just like comes with the superpower at this point, and it's kind of nice to see that Superman also kind of has that. Like that's the one point of the Russians that I'm like okay with is like, oh yeah, Superman has this big deal going on, but there's a person 50 miles away that's in trouble. I'll be right back, guys. I gotta do this thing. Then I'll be back.
That's
I'm just
right.
gonna jump around.
Because he knows they can handle. You guys can hold him for a little bit, right? While I go and save some lives. What did you hate about these Russian families?
What I hated wasn't the family itself. What bothered me is that they show the kid with a bug spray. Bug spray never comes back.
No.
It never comes back. What a missed opportunity. And I know it wouldn't have been like, oh, the bug spray is what kills these things. But it would have been kind of, at least it would have had some foresight
it-
for her to show the bug spray and then the stupid big
That-
buggy thing to pop up in the vehicle and her to freak out and go, ah, and spray it and the thing to be like, and for them to like buy
But
that much
that
more
was
time.
that's like a callback to a Dark Knight joke when just as Batman has pulled out the motorcycle for the first time when he's chasing the Joker, and those kids are in the car shooting, and they're bam, bam, bam.
I was gonna
Like
go
it should have
with-
been something like that. It's like sprayed the thing.
Yeah,
but it's
something-
actually because the Flash is like electrocuting it or something.
I just think it was a missed opportunity, and I'm like, and it felt to me something like, oh, that maybe they did shoot and then had to cut for time. But it's like they should have just cut out the.
Yeah, I was gonna compare it to Iron Man 2 when all the robots are kind of running around, and then there's the kid with the Iron Man mask that's supposedly Peter Parker now.
Well, it's always
Yeah.
been Peter Parker.
Sorry, it's
They
always been
knew.
Yeah.
Yes.
They knew.
Like that's what. Yeah, I wanted that exact thing where like the kid's gonna spray him, and yeah, either the Flash throws electricity because he can do that sometimes, or like Superman shoots him with heat vision, like right at that moment. Like that would have been such a nice,
Just something.
natural comedic.
And it turned out that kid is Roy Harper.
Yes.
I mean, that whole big finale.
That's
it's just
Shazam,
like these
actually.
Oh yeah, it's
weird
Billy Batson.
Yeah.
Tendrils just shooting, coming out of the
What
ground.
is it? What even is it though? Like
just
I
some
don't know.
weird
I had a
destructive
lot.
energy.
Like
It's gonna become apocalypse.
radioactive
Don't you get
flowers. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Is that like it's like the kids are like, oh, the Russian family's like, oh, well, we lost our home and everything we hold dear, but let's look out fondly at these
these pretty little
what are certainly
flowers.
radioactive flowers
adorable.
that you're letting your kid pick right now.
No, it's that life where once there was death, there is no life, and so
Life.
this failed.
Life
It
finds
was
a way.
All right, Game Master.
It was the Genesis device, just deployed on Earth. Yeah.
I mean, I guess you
my,
don't want to
just
have
so many stupid things.
I mean, I'm kind of torn because the plot is paper thin in terms of what Steppenwolf's deal is.
What is a firewall?
That's an insult to paper.
That's true. But I mean, also more like you have so much to do with introducing Cyborg, Flash, and Aquaman, and then you've got to get the team together, and then you got to bring back Superman. Do you not? You have to come up with just like the lamest of supervillain plots because you can't really spend a lot of time on it. But I feel like that was a waste because you really.
Yeah, it was just stupid.
See,
Just
well
that's it.
argued. Well
Yeah.
argued,
No,
Trevor.
No, but like the flowers things is like the equivalent of like the hive mind thing in Avengers. Like it's just the cheat. It's just the narrative
Yeah.
cheat of just
Yeah.
like, well, we're not going to show the cleanup, so surprise, it's all nice
yeah, it's
vegetation.
just in what world? In what world does that even happen? And then it's like, oh, this fire. It was just escalated really quickly. Where I'm like, oh, now we're in like a cave of fire. I don't understand what. By that point, I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go along with this because there's no rules. There's like no motivation. There's no rules. I don't understand why the tendrils in the ground. Like, there's no thematic tie-in.
See,
there's no consistency or continuity.
This again
there.
goes back to my point about BVS. Terrible as that film is, at least there was, like, the villain had a motivation. Like, Lex Luthor was actually trying to like kill Superman. It's all it's fucking terrible. Don't get me wrong, but at least they were trying to do something. They weren't trying to do anything here. But I also, I mean, man, you're giving me that death glare. But I feel like you have other notes about this movie too.
No, I have like just like 4 things that I have questions, but I just feel like the movie.
Well, I don't think
BVS is just indefensible to me.
I don't think I've ever heard you defend BVS with such passion before. I'm not going to let you rebuttal. I'm going to say for Chris that is his favorite movie.
I see the point
He's nodding his head in agreement.
New favorite film.
I see the point you're making with it, though, is at least those movies were doing something.
Yeah, I understand
and
your point.
this
I get
was just, but it's just like they just had, it's still garbage material, but they did more and tried something with it, and this was just material that it was just pleasant. Like it was just, saw it at a matinee, and that was fine enough for me.
Me too.
Like it's just like, all right, I'm good. Saw it.
Anybody
It's in my
like
head.
Henry Cavill's line when he comes back. Like, I'm a big fan of truth, but I'm a bigger fan of justice.
Oh, the worst. That was the worst. That was
Justice.
awful. That was awful. It was so bad.
Do you guys know who the Crimson Chin is? He's the Superman equivalent from Fairly Odd Parents.
Oh, yeah.
Here comes the Crimson Chin. That's all I could see when
Copyrighted
he said
material.
like, I stand for truth, but even more justice.
Yeah, that's
Like
it.
all I saw was the Crimson Chin
It was.
on screen.
It was one of those things where I was like, really? Like, are you? Is this in earnest? I don't understand it. Okay. I have very few things. We covered most of it. Okay. Steppenwolf. He kept dropping his axe. Somebody grab his fucking axe. Just grab his axe. You're a speedster. Get his axe and smash him with it.
Did you know that's the source of his power? Because I didn't until I read the production book.
No, I didn't know that. But
Yeah.
when I'm like, grab his axe, he keeps dropping it and leaving it places for way long enough that a speedster could have gone in there and grabbed the axe, and nobody did it, and it made me mad, and it was really stupid.
Because I feel like the only time he got hurt was when he hit him in the face. But if he hit them with the axe, then they go flying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like-
Actually, what I would have wanted, going on that speedster note, I would have loved for Flash to speed over and try and pick it up, but it's like too heavy for him. He's like, no, we gotta do something else, and then like continue.
Yeah, just
Or
something.
go
Give
and
him
grab
something
like
else to
go
do.
grab Batman. And we're like, pick this up, I can't.
Yeah.
just like
Just
or
like-
run and grab someone, pick
At
this up, I
least
can't.
try it. There were so many opportunities there. I wanted to at least see someone like try that, you know. Oh, at the end of the film, the sneak peek. Who's the bad guy with Lex Luthor?
Slade Wilson currently just wrapped up an arc on Arrow,
Okay.
but he's Deathstroke the Terminator, a Teen Titans villain traditionally.
Are
But again, he's sort of
He's
gotten
pretty much
he-
become a Batman villain. Over
He
the
yeah
past
yeah
couple
he
years.
he kind of got the cyborg treatment and got brought up to the A leagues.
Thanks to Brad Meltzer and an identity crisis.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's sort
Yeah.
of what established him as the bigger villain. Yeah, that's what established him as a Green Arrow
Yeah.
bad
Mhm.
guy.
are
And
we
then everybody
excited? Are we excited to see him?
I think it all depends on who else they assemble. Like those two alone aren't enough to
Yeah.
excite me.
I think it's good casting. I like Joe Manganiello. I think he fits the role. I still have a huge problem with Jesse Eisenberg. Lex,
But
that doesn't
did it
work.
feel better? This Luthor. I mean, granted, it was like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It felt a little.
Felt better to
They
me.
dressed him weirdly similar to Gene Hackman,
Yeah.
which that threw me off a little bit.
That's one thing we didn't even talk about was the score. It mostly sucked. It was not Danny Elfman's best, but I loved the fact that if you listen closely, you can hear the '89 Batman theme and you can hear the John Williams Superman score. That was cool. Like stuff like that. Kind of like how freaking Spider-Man was cool during the Marvel Studios thing when
Yes.
it played the Spider-Man theme. It's like that's the kind of the little stuff. That's what really gets me as a fan.
Little shout-outs.
Is the history of
Yeah.
it. And DC has so much more of it, and the fact that they're just rushing through it is what's ultimately insulting to the material and frustrating for me as a person watching it.
I agree with you on the Spider-Man thing. The reason I don't necessarily agree with this movie is with Spider-Man, they embrace it. Like, okay, this is the Spider-Man theme. We're gonna put it front and center. We're gonna be very obvious about it. I feel like Danny Elfman was like hiding because I actually been listening to the score because I was like, I love film scores. I was very curious about this one. If it was good, separated from the movie itself. Spoiler, it's not.
But Thor is. I
Thor's
downloaded
pretty good.
that.
Yeah, I've been listening to that a little bit too. Like I didn't like. I actually found it distracting. So I'm like, oh, I guess that's the Batman theme. There's like a few bars of it. Like for me, the Superman thing was even more egregious. And I was just like, for me, I think behind the James Bond theme, Superman theme from John Williams is my favorite piece of like cinematic score. I'm still frustrated they just deleted it. I feel like you could just kept it and it wouldn't have been an issue. I'm super sad they got rid of it. I thought it was a weird, kind of lazy, kind of kludgy inclusion.
I felt like
weird
the
sentence.
the score in Batman vs Superman, Wonder Woman, and this film to me have been some of the most distracting parts of the entire movie. Yeah, I'm just not a
Hot
fan.
licks.
It's tasty licks. Although I do want to work out to that version of Come Together.
I actually question for you on that because I know we
No, it
talked
should've
about
been
with
the Michael Jackson one.
Yeah, right. With Wonder Woman, we were talking about how I think someone here said that they didn't like the fact that they didn't like make the Wonder Woman theme fit the time periods. They kept the electric cello, but it didn't make it. Because
I-
this one, it was like an orchestra version. It wasn't a flat out electric cello. Did you have a different opinion on it now that they tweaked it slightly?
Yes, this one, the that it wasn't so like electrified
Mm-hmm.
was better for me.
Okay.
Just because it wasn't quite as jarring. But so I didn't feel like that it was as jarring in this movie. That being said, because there were so many scores they were trying to integrate, it felt so manic and disjointed to me.
And yet only 7 music listings in the credits.
yeah,
That's it?
I don't.
Wow.
Yes, yeah, very, very few, and yeah, and that includes like the crazy riff that Aquaman drove down to after smashing the bottle, and the Come Together. So
Yeah.
really, just like 5 in the film itself.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a lot.
So we are coming up to the 2-hour mark.
Oh my
let's
gosh.
keep going, Cameron. Don't
Guys.
quit now.
Just throwing that number out there.
Where is this Cameron when we're recording our podcast? Like, where's this Cameron who's trying to wrap things up?
Amanda still has
on
some
our
more
own?
notes.
No, this
Yeah.
is actually just it's a
Yeah,
two-parter.
we're at an hour
This
40.
Is, this is
so.
very. This is not even a note. I just want to
No,
say
this is on time.
at the
This one's
end
early.
they act like Bruce was like this hero for saving the house, but like, where was he before it got foreclosed on? They're like,
Yeah,
they're like,
right.
they're like, oh, you saved like Ma Kent's house.
Did he know her name?
Because he, that was the biggest thing. But like, it's like, oh, he saved her house. It's like, well, how did you do that? How did you stop the foreclosure? He's like, I bought the bank. And it's like, one, that's not how foreclosures work. You don't just buy the bank. That's not how it works.
Then he
And
forgave
why
the
did you?
debt.
Why did you wait so long? And then also, I don't believe for a second at the end of the movie. Stop yawning, Frank. This is a point. I don't believe for a second at the end of the film then that the Flash's dad would still be in prison. Because if Batman can just buy the bank and save the house, he can't like bribe.
Or just work with Amanda Waller or something like that.
Something.
One of the previous connections.
That
or
he's not going to be released from prison. Like I thought for sure at the end when the Flash put like
Yeah.
the certificate on the thing, that
was
it
like
was going to
his,
be
like-
like, you're out, Daddy. I know I'm a bazillionaire, and it's like I've got this shitted job now, and it's
Well,
like that's not
True, because Batman's the world's greatest detective, and if you had him in
Yeah.
your corner, like, help me solve this
proof
because I
that
know it.
this didn't happen. Yeah, and I was just like, oh, so the Flash doesn't really get. He just gets like a job out of it, like a summer gig.
But then you
Yeah.
don't
That's
have
what he
Flashpoint
gets?
then.
Well,
There is.
I
you
wish.
you can have it both ways. You
So-
can be like, I
and
got this
then,
great job, and you're innocent, and then it solves the problem of having him in the next film.
And then
but then
they
you
could
give
have
him two things, and everyone else just gets one thing.
No, but then you could have released
Christmas.
Henry Allen and had the song Renegade and just do an homage to Henry Allen getting released in season 2 of The Flash. 'Cause that's what happens. They walk out of Iron Heights as renegades, like, hey, 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 you've been like we're renegades. It's like that's just walking like CW slow mo sort of thing.
Yes.
Oh
That's
my
what I would have
gosh.
wanted to see.
Oh, I was
But like
thinking-
a cover by the same people who did the Come Together.
Yeah. Okay. Solid.
Hey, 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 we're renegades, like that.
I thought you meant Renegade from the Sticks. I was like, oh, that's a great song. I'm like, oh no,
No,
you're talking
no,
about
no.
the shitty one that's like in
Ex-Ambassadors.
Jeep commercials. Okay,
Yeah.
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 Going off of the Batman Superman point, there was a moment where I turned
Which
to Chris when Superman first comes back, and he's like holding Batman up. It's like, do you bleed? Yeah, he's a fucking human.
So
But I
stupid.
turned to Chris, and there's like a quiet moment of like, what do you have to say? And I turned to Chris, I'm like, if he fucking says Martha, I'm walking out
Oh
of
my
the
god,
theater
I know. I
right
thought
now.
I thought for
I
real.
could have sworn he was gonna be like, Martha, and like, that was gonna like spring him
You're
back.
like he holds up his pinky and he's like Martha, and then they like pinky swear promise their
Oh, that
fingers
would've-
together, and
Like
then they
Kai
just
on.
yes, and then they just do it's like a tiny little kiss, and then they're resolved.
Just start making out. in the
Oh,
middle of the
speaking
air.
of that, again, going back to missed opportunities, Luthor and Slade should have cemented their partnership with Luthor putting a Jolly Rancher into Slade's mouth.
Oh
And
my
then
God,
that's
yes.
the last image of the movie. Is just that.
Oh man.
Can we talk about like Ezra Miller running as the Flash?
Oh,
Like,
so
Stupid.
goofy.
ugh.
He's such a
Yeah, especially that last
looked
shot.
His
a Muppet.
arms are going everywhere.
he looks
Yeah.
like a Muppet, and I'm
So on a, I'm gonna try and play devil's advocate.
It's your friend
as
with
much as I
scoliosis
can.
story again.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I think he listens.
We
so
get
I'm
it,
not-
Cameron. You're a monster.
Yes, I'm a monster. If you look at like the physics of how a person normally runs, and like it would
It's a
kind of
piston.
Excuse me.
It's like it's a circular piston motion. Is the way a person runs.
Yeah, I feel like the arms, like yes, they're very flaily, but like a person running that fast, I feel like he would have to get like a super long kind of reach out of it. When I'm trying.
Well,
my
no,
best
no,
right
no,
to
no, no.
defend-
It's yeah, you're right. Just because the speed seems to propel him in a way that he's sort of pseudo leaping as opposed to just traditionally running.
Right.
Which again sort of just brings it back to the other point of just like he's too fucking powerful.
Mhm.
If that's how fast he is, that he can't run like a normal person, but has to do these like run leaps where he has to because that's the only reason he has to you would run like that is if you're throwing yourself.
Run
Yeah.
leap.
Yeah,
Would
yeah,
another
yeah.
word
So you're
for
like
that be the power of flight?
No.
yeah. Well, it's like if you've done well, there's like one thing is like
He's flying.
I want to see a Flash in some goddamn sprinting blocks. Like I want to see the Flash have to actually learn how to run.
So that was another thing that I kind of liked about this movie is it's definitely, and it contrasts what we know from him in Suicide Squad. He's very new to his power. Like
Yeah.
he's never used it for extended periods of time besides, like you said, pushing someone.
Yeah.
Which I liked. I liked that he says that. I just didn't see it reflected in his abilities in this
Yeah.
movie.
It's just
I-
jumped. It just jumped to he tripped and then now he gets it.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see like they were filming that scene and they're like, all right, Ezra, just run. Okay, no, you gotta wave those arms more, man. Wave those arms more.
Yeah.
Get him going really crazy, Ezra. Yeah.
You're a
I don't-
bird.
Well, that's
I don't think he's ever seen someone run before.
well, that's like what I was saying is that what I was gonna say with like the when I got sidetracked with the blocks is like it's more like this event, the triple jump, which is a hop, skip, jump, and in the skip you run like you throw yourself like that. So you're right in that it does serve a purpose. It just sort of goes to further show just like how fast and powerful he is that he can't run like a normal person. He has to run in this like flail thing to just have his body perpetually in motion being skipped forward as he's propelled by the speed force.
I like that they talk about how much. I had not really considered how many calories it would take to keep the Flash rolling. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
They brought, I'm
Yeah,
glad
that
they
was
brought
kinda
that up.
fun.
That's like one of those little like day-to-day superhero things that I really like to see.
Well, that was a retcon that they established and just sort of like breezed past in season 1 of The Flash. It was not a retcon, but it's just sort of like a little like cheat where
Yeah.
they acknowledged it and the fact that like Barry can just freaking eat. But then Cisco came up with like a little like protein slow release like pill sort of thing. And it's like you could just eat like a normal person and this will sustain
no, I
this.
I
In-
think
in
it would have
Young
been more fun to
Justice,
just
they
see him eating all the
actually-
time.
Yeah.
Like Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
They bring that up a handful of times in Young Justice, which is what I love about it with Kid Flash. Where like there's an episode that takes place on his birthday, and his parents like, "Oh, we made you your favorite thing for breakfast. Oh, what is it? Everything." And it's just like a whole like like a Thanksgiving buffet.
Oh, that's
And then they even bring it up when he's running, or like his emergency snack that he keeps in his like wrist bracelet is like he forgot to refill it, and so he's like really struggling to keep up his speed because
Yeah.
he's like,
Once again,
I
like
can't keep doing this.
if we're doing this, like why not just establish Barry Allen is dead? If we already have this like 20-year gap of Batman operating and clearly superpowers have been around for before Superman at least.
And supposedly Shazam's been doing this for a while too.
Yeah, and the Green Lanterns and everything like that. So like why not just full on make him Wally West and have him have like Barry Allen's dead or whatever, as opposed to doing this pastiche thing of it's Wally West in Barry's skin.
Yeah, because
Like
I forgot when you brought up that like there was a moment where Captain Boomerang talked about that, and like you can give this Flash a like a throwaway line of like, oh, all I do is push people and catch boomerangs. Of like, oh, okay, now that ties back to that. Okay, but this Flash clearly has never been a crime fighter, so
Yeah.
the perfect movie that Suicide Squad is, there's now a loophole.
And man,
That hurt me just to hear you say that.
his costume is just not exciting. Like it's like the siding that they use for the space shuttle.
It's
Just like,
kind of weird looking. I don't
Yeah.
understand all the weird.
it's not it's
all
not
the-
until the final moments when him and Superman are on that street corner about to do their race that you really get a chance to see that costume and you're just like, oh. Like you
It's-
can tell like the stupid ass
ugh.
the
yeah,
point
Yeah.
stupid.
Because I feel like it's great in comic books. You can say like his Speed Force aura like generates something that keeps him doesn't let the heat of friction
Yeah,
affect him.
we like that's when one like fuck the lack of a ring on the Flash TV show is egregious at this point.
Yeah.
It's a running gag. And the fact that like that was Wally's power was being able to generate a suit from the Speed Force. That would have been fucking sweet, especially if they want to just leapfrog his powers. Being able to do something like that, like, oh yeah, I can actually generate a suit from the Speed Force or something like that, or have the freaking ring.
I know.
Have the freaking ring. Like, hey, guess what? Want to see something real cool? Like, I figured it out because he's a scientific genius. And yeah, he'd be ADD because of the powers, but also like he has all the time in the world. So why wouldn't he be like a Peter Parker level like psycho genius?
Yeah, I didn't see that. I just saw the like awkward nerd, and I didn't get like Batman's like, oh, the suit's cool, and he's like, yeah, it's made of this, and I'm like, oh, I guess he's smart, and then that's it. That's like,
Yeah.
the whole thing.
But you could have told me he stole it and changed it,
Right,
and I would, and that would fit his character
Right.
more. But yeah, it's just like if you have this superpower of super speed and you're this crazy shut-in bookworm nerd, then of course you'll be able to figure out insane things.
Yeah.
He can read all of Einstein and he can read an entire library within an hour. Like at super speed, he can just be that insane thing. That was one thing, evolution of Bart Allen was when he gets shot by Deathstroke. One of Deathstroke's super sweet ass moments was when he kneecaps Bart Allen in Teen Titans. but Bart just immediately sort of is confronted with his immaturity in that moment of failure, and he reads the entire San Francisco Public Library.
Oh, that's cool.
And so there's like the Titans respond to a call because they people are screaming about a ghost, and it's just like there's just books flying off the shelf and stacks, and they realize, oh, it's just Bart reading.
That's pretty funny. See that? Yeah, that kind of stuff I like. 'Cause it's just their powers being used for interesting,
Mhm.
just for an interesting way. Like, what would you do really if you were smart and bored?
Yeah, you'd read.
Read everything.
Yeah.
You know.
And so, yeah, the fact that they don't utilize that and utilize it to have him come up with crazy ass shit
Yeah.
is like, come the fuck on. You have, and it's like the budget's not a thing. This is the third most expensive movie ever
Is
made.
it really?
Yes.
Well, I think-
Which is something we should have
Lord.
mentioned when we started talking about the CG.
Like I think the
Oh.
reshoots were what 50 million alone. I think. Something I
Oh,
But then
read.
that's
crap.
250 million for what it was,
yeah.
and then
Guys.
this additional 50 million for the reshoots.
That's like 6 trips to Disneyland.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry. I'm
Yeah, let me-
tired.
let me-
Amanda,
that's all
how
up.
do you spend $50 million?
Have you been to Disneyland recently?
There's
It's
so much
expensive.
good stuff to buy.
There's a lot of good stuff
So
there.
it only does 96 million this weekend. It definitely underperforms. Were you guys surprised
Mickey
that
beignets.
it came in that low? Or were you
No.
like,
No,
No.
No,
I'm surprised it came in that high.
I mean that seems about right. Like I mean, you again, it comes back to them. Like they clearly were trying to to mitigate their loss on this one. Like they made it under 2 hours. You can get more screenings in. Like
You got Joss Whedon, and he created the Avengers, the third most highest grossing film of all
Yeah.
time.
Being under 3 hours, like hitting pretty close to 2. At this point, our podcast might end up going longer than this film did.
we are actually about neck and neck. I
Which
think with
is
that
yeah,
movie,
which
which is
Which
But
is
to be
probably
honest with you,
time.
I think that
Pretty
I think
incredible.
that had a lot to do with me enjoying this movie more. Weirdly enough, because a lot of the same issues
yeah.
and some different, more interesting issues, but for a shorter period of time.
Yeah, you had to
Whereas,
live with
like-
it
Yeah.
45 minutes less.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and it felt like longer than that. This felt like half the movie that
Yeah.
Batman versus Superman was in length.
So I
And
mean,
I know that's not the case, but it sure felt that way
Yeah.
when I was watching it.
along those lines, I don't think it's worth going and trying to re-rank our comic movies from this year because I can't imagine anyone having this at anything other than the bottom spot, right?
No, this is still better than Batman versus Superman. Although that was
No, no,
last
no.
year.
I meant just this year. That
Oh,
shows
just
like
this
all the
year.
movies we've done
Okay.
for our crossovers. I can't imagine anyone's gonna put this at anywhere other than the bottom,
Nah.
right?
Spider-Man: Homecoming's the bottom for me.
You thought Spider-Man:
He-
Homecoming
you
was
did not,
worse than
he
this?
did not like Spider-Man
Just
Homecoming.
kidding, guys.
Oh, okay.
For a second, I was just like, you motherfucker.
Yeah, I know. So
Get out of here.
so that's kind of a moot
You said that to
point. I know
him.
we're missing some posters there, but so instead we'll do this. How about this to kind of to wrap things up here? How would you rank this amongst the 5 DCEU films? Right? Is it 5?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we list them all?
So in order, it would be Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, and this. Don't list all of them, just for you.
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah.
is this the bottom? Is it somewhere in the middle? Where
Right in the middle.
right in the middle? Okay.
Second
best
to Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Wonder
Okay.
Woman was the best.
Yeah, I'd go with that too.
Yeah, Wonder Woman's the best. Yeah, Cameron.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's ties with Man of Steel for me.
That's how I feel about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's 1, 3, 3, 4, 5. And I do want to say I'm very proud when we all put this at the bottom of this year's list. I will proudly say that Power Rangers is better than this.
Wow.
Oh, I know for a fact Power Rangers better because I went and saw Power Rangers and I posted on Facebook saying, "Hey guys, Power Rangers is actually pretty fun. You should go see this." I had the exact
And
opposite.
people didn't listen to you.
They did actually.
Okay, although I will say retroactively, the Red Ranger's performance in Stranger Things has made me less likely to see that movie. I still haven't seen Power Rangers, but
Who was
knowing
he
that
in? Who was Red Ranger?
Billy,
He-
the
No, he-
mullet guy in Stranger Things 2 is the main Power Ranger.
Not
He's
in
the Red
Steve.
Ranger.
No, not Steve.
No.
Oh.
What's the bully's
Okay.
name?
Billy.
Is it Billy?
Yeah, which is frustrating because he's not Billy
Yeah, because
in
everyone's
Power Rangers.
yeah,
He's
Billy is
Jason.
just like the most used word in Power Rangers possible.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but that Power Rangers had that dumb scene where they get pushed into the fire and then they come out. Ugh,
Oh,
that's
look,
terrible.
Power Rangers was flawed.
Guys, we should.
I have-
we can't open the store.
I know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
too much.
I
It's too
have,
much.
I
2 hours
have. This is I think this is a good debate, but it won't be a long one.
Okay.
But since we've decided that this can't be the final piece of the puzzle of
Sure.
our year, and then we're gonna conclude with Star Wars.
Yes.
Yes, we must. And on a high note, hopefully.
Do you think Star Wars can top the best of these films? So do you think Star
Oh.
Wars can surpass these?
For me,
And whatever your
yes.
top one is of these
Yeah.
the comic book
I
films.
think if I'm just off the top of my head, I think for me, I would probably put Lego Batman as the highest because I was the one here who didn't love Logan that much.
Oh, I loved Logan.
So I think Star Wars. If it's what I hope it is, I think it'll be my top film of the year.
Spider-Man: Homecoming is my number one, and I don't think The Last Jedi can beat that. Only because I think I have a much more deeper attachment to Spider-Man. Though I love Star Wars, I still think Spider-Man's going to give me the edge out, which means I'm going to like that one better. I can see this coming number 2, though.
I have a deeper attachment to Star Wars than I do to superhero films in general. I loved Logan, and I loved Guardians of the Galaxy. Guys, I was just thinking today. I was listening to Brandy, and I was just thinking like how excited I am for us to get to talk about another Guardians movie. I got viscerally excited. I'm like, I'm so excited to talk about the next one, and it's not out yet. But it was so.
Is it even slated?
No, those movies are so fun though. Like they're such a good time. So I don't know, but I'm really excited about The Last Jedi. I didn't answer your question. I'm sorry.
Do we have a different favorite movie from this year?
Is number number
Lego,
one?
Spider, Guardians / Logan.
I don't know. For me, it's Logan / Wonder Woman.
Okay, yeah.
Probably Logan first
Trevor, do you have
because it's
do
just
you
a
have number
good
one?
film.
Actually,
I
my
don't
number one
know.
is Thor.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, I loved Thor.
I heard.
Well, then, yeah.
Did
I think,
I did.
Chris and I take Logan because I know that's his favorite.
I
like
loved
bar
Logan.
none. Like I'm
So
I'm on
good.
I'm splitting the difference between Fembrez and Frank. As Spider-Man really hit me.
Yeah.
But I also like have to ding it because that's Genki. That's Genki Lee.
True.
That's
yeah,
not
but
Ned Leeds. That's Genki Lee.
I know that. But
No,
that is such a
I
small-
know. I just wanted to bring that
Yeah.
up.
For me, like- for me, like-
No, but yeah, that's my split. But I also think Star Wars could surpass.
I think. Well, for me, Logan is the one out of these that is the most Star Wars like. Like it's a western. You know, and I mean, not like all the Star Wars films are westerns, but like
Well,
even
it's
but just look at the poster. Like the poster looks like it could be for a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
I think, like I don't know. I just
Well,
it's got that dark brooding quality and like it's a little more realistic. I don't know.
Well, your points is like Logan took the western to the superhero movie, how Star Wars took the western to sci-fi.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that spirit. I think the newer films, like when I say newer, I mean like within the last like 2 years, have recaptured some of that original magic a little bit. And I thought, so I don't know. I'm jazzed
Nice.
for it, but I'm
Yeah.
trying to keep my expectations like.
I know I'm trying
Here.
to keep it down, but
Which is hard because my best friend is Mark Hamill, so like it's really hard. For me to do
he's
that.
pretty amazing. No, I am super excited for that. So
I mean, the fact that they gave Ryan Johnson his own trilogy speaks
Yeah.
highly, I think, for the film.
Did you see Mark Hamill was at Disneyland?
Yes. Yes.
Did he see your freak out?
He probably heard it because I had friends that were in the same Star Tours like room as him. Like they rode the ride with him. He was there to promote. Shut up.
Yeah. That's me.
All right,
Shut
let's wrap this podcast up because we need to talk to Amanda about stuff.
Yeah. You wrap up.
oh yeah, so I think we're good.
Yeah.
At this point, all right.
That would have been awesome.
Last
Would've been awesome to be on.
Last Jedi is the final.
Last Jedi
Yeah.
will be our final for the year. Very, very excited about that. So to conclude, we are Timm Talk, podcast about the DC anime universe, where you can find much better representations of your favorite DC Comics characters than you can in Justice League.
Ooh.
And you can find us at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook and Twitter and Gmail and Instagram. I'm at Lordifer on some of those same things.
I'm at CamDexter_adventures and at Cameron.Dexter if you want to see my artwork that hasn't been updated in months.
I like it.
Thank you.
You can find me at TrevorCopter personally, and then we are at PO2W_Flash on all social media. And we are the podcast of Two Worlds, me and Chris Fembrez, all about the Flash. I will say this. These motherfuckers better give me a blonde Barry Allen in my lifetime. I'm sick of this garbage. John Wesley Shipp, Ezra Miller, Grant Gustin. Let's get a blonde guy in the role. Thank you. Yeah.
One thing we didn't talk about though is J.K. Simmons as Commissioner
Yes.
Gordon.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Like that hair, though. It seems so weird to have him in that with
So
that
weird,
hair.
but so good. I wanted to be like, did I miss him? Has he always been Commissioner Gordon? Did I just miss him? I love him.
This is his first appearance as
Yeah,
Gordon.
he's great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
But again, he should be J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
should.
true,
Should be.
but-
First
But
and
like
foremost.
that first scene where we see the bat symbol where he's out there on the
Yeah.
roof ready to go, there's like that piece of
I know,
white
fucking-
crappy
fucking
tarp
Frank.
hanging there. Where I'm
Frank-
just like, why is that white tarp just flattering right
Frank
there?
hijacked his own
I did.
outro.
I did,
Yeah,
guys.
to talk
Talk
about
more.
tarps. Like
Yes.
he really had some passionate things to say about tarps.
That was just a really poor setup over there on the roof of the GCPD, guys.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Frank, where can they find you if they want to talk to you more about this?
You guys find me on Twitter and Instagram at Happy Go Jackie.
Happy Go Jackie with an IE.
Well, you know
a
that
Y.
he is ready to talk more about it.
He's
you
guys,
ha-
please
please.
message Frank so he
Yeah.
can talk more about it.
so we don't have to.
That's right.
He's
He's
visibly shaking in his seat because we are silencing him.
the man is a library and an archive of knowledge. Please utilize that. Send him some messages. Find him on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Amanda Barnes. This is Frank Moran. We're the hosts of the Novice and Frank comic book podcast. And you can tweet to us at Comic Book Novice. You can tweet, like he said, to Happy Go Jackie.
And the Barnes Rights or Comic
And
Book
Barnes
Novice.
Rights, yeah, or Comic Book Novice. Or hashtag us. We'll find you.
Amanda, are you excited since you know a lot more Star Wars for our final episode to be the Frank this time?
Do I know more about Star Wars than Frank, though?
Is
I
it
don't
just gonna
know.
be the Frank and
I don't
Frank
know.
podcast?
The Frank and Frank?
We'll find
The
out.
Frank. the
Sometimes,
Fra-
I think sometimes we switch off being the novice. But
That's
in
true.
general, with superheroes, Frank
In
is
all
the
things
Frank.
that are important in life, she is the expert.
No, shut
Yeah.
up.
She's the Frank.
Shut up, you
That's
guys.
right.
Stop it. Thank you for listening, everybody, and thank you for hosting, gentlemen.
No problem.
Yay.
I'm glad I could do it by
Nailed it,
myself with
Cameron.
no help.
Yay. Tim talk.
Textbook example.
Yep.
It's a clinic, Cameron, a clinic.
Thanks for listening, guys.
All right. We love you. Bye.
Bye.
But seriously, that tarp, guys. I mean, why?
Hey guys, it's Ryan and Kelly.
Hey guys, it's Ryan and Kelly. From the Hellmouthy podcast. Do you want to watch Buffy? Either again or for the first time ever?
And talk about it?
With us? You'll be doing talking by yourself, but we'll be talking. Check out the Hellmouthy podcast on Nerdist School Network. Listen to it. Okay, let's try it one more time.
The Nerdist School Network. For class and show information, visit nerdistschool.com.